All right, I think we lost Dan. Darn. Okay.
Well, he was on topics at this end of the wheel, so.
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
Okay, you got me now?
Yep.
Can you see main benefit, alignment, and execution?
Yes.
Yeah, you dropped out of your presentation.
I know we're going to do it this way because.
Okay, that's fine.
But when we do this stuff, we get all these, increased profit, reduced workload. So here's what I want to give everybody on the call today. I'm not going to do anything with this, but if you go to our website, mirgonconsulting.com, down on the bottom right of the main header there, you download what's called a healthy company checklist. It's going to put you through some questions and you grade yourself. I don't need to know the answers. This is not anything but for you to use. The idea then is for you to assess your company and whether or not you've got areas that you might need to spend some time thinking through. If we can help you with that, that's why we're here, okay? But no obligation, just go ahead and download it. And unless we have questions, that's it for me today.
Well, we're right out of time right now. But yes, if you have some questions, put them in the chat. And we'll forward them to Dan so he can answer them for you. So Dan, that was very good. In fact, I noticed that Ben, who's on here, he identified the book before you did, or Functions of a Team, and I'm going, yeah, that is a great book. And then you mentioned it a few moments later, so it was good timing, and it's great information. So. All right, we're going to be moving on now, and so thank you. I'm going to put you back as an attendee. So thank you, Dan.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
And there you go. And we're going to be bringing up Brad Warren, who is our next speaker. And so let's get him here. Here he comes. But in the meantime, what I also wanted to do was we're going to be giving away things today, all day. And so right now, we're going to give away our first trip to, hello, Brad.
Hi.
We're going to give away our first trip. And so watch in the chat and I will announce who the winner is. You have to be here right now in order to win. And so I'm going to be drawing a name out of the hat. Or
I will verify that he has a wheel that spins. There you go.
I'm using my phone. I have a randomizer here.
Yeah, there you go.
But while I'm doing that, Jim, why don't you introduce Brad?
I will. No, Brad, maybe going on a year. I met him through a nationwide networking group. And I was drawn to him very, very quickly. First of all, I'd like to say that he does some land banking and he has some very interesting information about that. Today, he's going to be speaking with some of his experience as a business coach. He was a business coach for many, many years. And we've had him on our podcast a couple of times. And every time I'm excited. He's a very, very compelling speaker. He's full of information. Well, I don't want to say he's full of it. He's full of it.
My wife says that all the time.
So I'm going to turn. You're going to make the announcement board, or should I turn Brad loose? You're muted.
Sorry, I muted myself, and so the person who won is looks like Jorge Diaz.
Okay, we'll get a hold of him and give him the information, the details on that. But I want to give Brad as much time as possible. So Brad, take it away.
All right, great. Well, thank you for having me. Can I share my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
All right. Share. All right. Let's see. I need to hit start from the beginning. Let's hit that button. Okay, slideshow from the beginning. There we go. All right. So welcome, everybody. My name is Brad Warren. And as James said, former business coach for a little over 40 years, and then switched careers about 4 years ago. But today I'm going to talk about time blocking your way to success with less stress, how to get more done in less time with less stress. This actually was a speech that I gave at the National Association of Realtors, actually 2 years in a row. They had me back. So apparently it went over well the first time. They had me back a second time. And I think this segues great with what Dan was talking about. He was a little more global about getting clear about your team and getting, having your meetings run well and all that. And I'm going to talk about, okay, great. Once you're clear about your vision and your goals, how do you actually implement them? How do you get more done every day, given the distractions in this world, the demands of all the other people? So we're going to talk about sort of way down at the nitty-gritty level here. So first, though, just a quick little session, and James referred to me coming to speak. One of the podcasts that I did with these two fine gentlemen in the past was on goal setting. And so that could be an hour and a half by itself. I don't have that much time, so I'm going to do a little condensed version. But my feeling is you can't schedule your week. You can't come up with your to-dos, your tasks, until you're very clear about your end result, your goal. Where do you want to be? Once you know where you want to be, then you figure out all the steps to get there. So this is my 7-step process for setting and achieving your goals. I'll be very honest, I stole most of it from Zig Ziglar. So these are the 7. I'll run through them very briefly, just so you get an overall sense of how to write goals. And hopefully you're doing that. In fact, now is the time of the year when I would get all of my coaching clients to begin working on the next year. So hopefully you're already looking ahead to 2022. You're already starting to think about what is it that I want to accomplish next year, because you can be laying the groundwork in November and December so that you kick off January and really have an incredible 2022. So first, you have to identify your goals and write them down in the SMART formula. Let me just jump ahead one slide. SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. Your goals need to be, and there are other words that other participants came up with: simple, manageable, achievable, etc. Your goals need to be very clear, very specific. They have to have a by when, a due date. And some additional points you might want to consider written down where you'll see them. I had one client who wrote his goals down, and then I got on a coaching call and he hadn't really done much. And then 2 weeks later, we had another coaching call and still hadn't done much. And I said, well, don't you have your goals? He said, oh yeah, I wrote all those down. I said, well, what did you do with them? Oh, I put them in the Brad folder. Well, where's the Brad folder? It's in the filing cabinet. Oh, do you look at them? Well, no, I guess I don't. So we finally got him in the habit of pulling out the Brad folder every Sunday when he planned out his week, and he would look at the goals. All right, so make sure they're written down where you can see them. Positively stated is something to move towards rather than run away from. Goals that have words like, I will not do this, I will stop doing that, don't work. I will stop eating jelly donuts. Well, I'm guessing that all of you just had a picture of a jelly donut in your head. Many people actually had a little red raspberry jelly coming out of the little hole in the side, maybe some sprinkled sugar on the top. Very hard to not eat jelly donuts when you're carrying a picture of a jelly donut around in your head. So I only put healthy, nutritious food into my body. And now maybe you're seeing what I call rabbit foods, salads and broccoli and cauliflower and healthy foods like that. So make the goal something you go towards rather than run away from. Fun if possible. Some goals are fun, some aren't always. You got to get that business running. You got to fire somebody. Sometimes one of your goals is get some of the people off the bus. Dan used the bus metaphor, which I love. Sometimes you've got the wrong people on the bus and you got to get rid of them. And your goal is to cut your team back a little bit. So they're not always going to be fun goals, but they're not shoulds, need tos, or have tos, but want tos. And then you've got daily, weekly, monthly versus long-term, which is quarterly, yearly, and beyond. So some people, I have some of my clients had 5-year goals, 10-year goals. I know some companies sometimes will have 50-year goals. The Native Americans used to talk about unto the 7th generation. So they were looking hundreds of years forward when they talked about the goals of how to manage the land and how to be careful not to kill too many animals so that the next year there would be more for us to kill and eat. So keep those longer term goals in mind as well. Share them with supportive other people. So if I said to Boyd and James, you know, guys, my goal is to drop 7 more pounds between now and New Year's of this year, of 2021, and they both went, that's not supportive. I don't want them on my team. All right, so I want them to say, great, Brad, what are you doing today? Are you stopping eating that dark chocolate you told us that you love? And what about cutting out those bananas? And are you gonna go walk the dog for 1.5 miles today? Because they know those are some of the things I work on. So that's supportive. Challenging in a stretch versus routine and ordinary. And actually, I have a quote. I love this quote. It's not really a quote. It says, tie your identity to doing a good job and remember to get challenging goals. Decades of research have shown that people who set difficult and specific goals outperform people who set vague and non-challenging ones. So whatever number you put down as far as income, add another 10 grand to it or 100 grand or whatever amount. Make it a stretch, make it a challenge. And remember, they're your goals, not someone else's. That provides ownership. Dan alluded to this when he talked about the values and making sure that all the team members on your team accept the values of the company. If they don't, oh, well, that's the CEO's goals, that's his values, I don't adhere to those, you might not want those people on your team. All right, so that's a little bit about SMART goals. All of that is step 1. Identify it, write it down. Number 2, identify obstacles, barriers, and challenges you're likely to encounter. What's going to get in my way? Who's going to get in my way? I'll admit nobody saw COVID coming. At least I don't think they did. All right, so that's an obstacle, a barrier, and a challenge that maybe you couldn't anticipate. But maybe you could have said to yourself, all right, what could go wrong with my business plan? What could get in the way? And if you think about that a little bit ahead of time, you come up with alternative plan A, B, C, and D. Backup plans, contingency plans, something to help you in case something goes wrong. Number 3, identify people, groups, and organizations that you'll need to work with and or who could provide assistance and support. So obviously, I love working with Boyd and James. I get exposure to people I would never meet on my own. It gave me an opportunity to go to my list of 15 some odd hundred people on my constant contact email list and say to everybody, hey guys, this is what I'm doing. Hopefully some of them showed up. A few of them actually said, go for it, Brad, way to go. Great, got a lot of encouragement and support. People are actually reading my emails. So you want to make sure you've got good people, groups, and organizations around you. Number 4, identify what you need to know in order to accomplish the goal. Skills, training, knowledge, information. Again, Dan referenced a couple of books. I love reading. I take training. I go to mastermind groups. I have a men's support group. You want to surround yourself with skills and training and knowledge and information that you don't currently have that you're going to need to get done what it is that you've set for yourself to get done. Number 5, by the way, 1 and 5 are the 2 most important in my opinion. If you don't do the other 2, 3, 4, 6, and 7, all right, you can get by, but at least do 1 and 5. Identify the goals with the SMART formula, and then come up with your plan of action. And the very simple question to ask yourself, who will do what by when? What is Sally going to do, and by when is she going to have it done? What is John going to do? What is Jorge going to do? Make sure that you're very clear about you, yourself, the people on your team. If it's just you, if you're a solopreneur and an entrepreneur, you're just working by yourself and you don't have a team, what about your CPA? What about your attorney? What about your spouse, partner, roommate? Are there some other people that you can get involved so it's not just you doing everything? So it's something to think about. And also a system for accountability. How often do you check in with people, follow up, review their progress, and make sure that they're doing what they said they were going to do, when they said they were going to do it, and in a way that meets the standards of your dreams and your goals and your company's vision. Number 6, what's in it for me? Great radio station to listen to. It's not selfish to think about that. Oh, I don't want to think about myself. Yeah, you better be thinking about yourself, because if it's not you, then who? So make sure you're very clear about why is this important for me to reach this goal? What are the benefits? What do I get out of it? What do the people around me get out of it? And then finally, how will you celebrate and acknowledge yourself and others once the goal is reached? Do you take people out for dinner? Do you give out awards? Do you give them a day off? Do you treat yourself to a spa or a vacation? For me, it was vacations. I had to work really hard, hit my numbers. And when I did, we had enough money to go on a vacation. So I always rewarded myself with travel to incentivize me to get stuff done. All right, so that's a little bit on goal setting, 7-step process for doing it, a little bit on goals themselves. Let's dive into the rest of the presentation. All of this information, by the way, comes from a course that I got trained to teach called The One Thing by Gary Keller, the same Keller that's Keller Williams Real Estate Company. I used to work for them. I was one of their coaches for about 6 or 7 years. And I love The One Thing. I love the book. I love the training. So I took out a couple of pieces from that training, which I'm allowed to do. I'm certified. I'm using a few of them here today. So he has, I think, 7 lies in the book. I'm only going to talk about one of them today. Lie number 1, everything matters equally. Well, it doesn't. Some of your phone calls are more important than other phone calls. Some of your meetings are way more important than other meetings. Unfortunately, we kind of treat everything as if it's equal. When the phone rings, most people, unless you've got caller ID and you know who it is and you don't answer, most people, I have a text, I got to answer right away. Oh, I've got a phone call, I got to, hi, because we don't want to appear aloof or inaccessible, or we're afraid somebody will go on to the next realtor or the next CPA or the next virtual assistant if I don't answer the phone right away. Well, sometimes you shouldn't answer the phone right away. A lot of times it's a telemarketer and you don't want to get involved with those people. So make sure you're very clear that not everything matters equally. Some things on your to-do list, or what I call your success list, matter more than other things. So let's look at this for a second. A to-do list. Most people's to-do list is everything that they could or should or want to or think they need to do that day. And it's a long, long list. It's got 20, 30, 50, a lot of my clients use, oh, Brad, I'm swamped. I got so much to do. But when we actually looked at, well, what should you actually really do? And we called it the success list. They narrowed it down. In this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items got knocked off the list. And this person now focused on the 4 things that they really needed to prioritize so that they would be successful and feel successful at the end of the day. So keep in mind, when you look at your to-do list, try to change it into a success list and narrow it down to really what should get done today. Keep this in mind, the Pareto Principle. Vilfredo Pareto was an Italian economist. And sometime around 1904, 1905, 1906, so well over 100 years ago, he studied the distribution of wealth in Italy. And he found that 80% of the wealth was concentrated in the hands of 20% of the people. He also, sort of as a corollary to that, he found that 80% of the land was owned by 20% of the people. Land then, as it is now, very important to building wealth. Anybody that owns a home knows that. You own that home. Hopefully you bought it a while ago. It's appreciated in value. You've got a lot of your wealth tied up in that piece of property. So this is known as the Pareto Principle. 80% of the breakdowns of a piece of machinery come from 20% of the parts. 80% of the results from your sales team come from 20% of the people. You can go on and find this 80-20 principle. In fact, I will almost guarantee within the next couple of days, you're either going to read an article about it or see something like this showing up in your life. This 80-20 rule comes up a lot. It's known as the Pareto Principle. And it says the minority of your effort leads to the majority of your results. Well, let's go one step further. Let's talk about extreme Pareto. Example, you have 25 things on your to-do list. You use Pareto. You figure out what are the top 5. What's the 20% that's going to give me the biggest bang for the buck? Then you take the 5. So you have 25, 20% of that is 5. Now, out of that 5, you find 1 You do 20% of 5, that's one. What's the one thing on that list of 25, which if you concentrated the majority of your attention on today, would move the needle, would move the dial, would shift your business way more than the other 24 items? I'm not saying you're not going to have to do the other 24, but in terms of where you focus, the majority of your energy and attention is on the one thing. Gary Keller's title of the book, that one thing, by doing extreme Pareto. Here's an example. Let's say you want to run a marathon. You write down 5 things that you need to do, and then you put them in priority order. So running a marathon, out of those 5, using Pareto, 20%, 1 out of 5, select a running regimen. That's the most important of those 5. So I put that at the top of the next column. I write down 5 things under that. Well, in order to select a running regimen, what do I need to do? I gotta check equipment, and out of all that, the first and most important thing is I gotta time block my training schedule. I gotta get that stuff into my calendar. That's the most important thing about the running regimen. So I put that at the top of the next column. And I put down the 5 things that will help me time block my training schedule. And out of all those, coordinate with an experienced running partner or coach. I put that at the top of the next column, and guess what? There ain't 5 things to do. That's it. That's the one. If you looked at, what do we got? 15 items here. And out of those 15, if I just find an experienced running partner or coach and coordinate with them, all those other 14 things will be taken care of by that coach. They will tell me whether I should run in the morning or the evening. They will tell me what watch I should buy. They will pick out the hills to run on. They'll help me check my equipment. Everything else on that list will get handled, or you'll get assistance from that experienced running partner or coach. So take the time to look at your to-do list, your success list every day. Well, it's a to-do list now. You'll turn it into a success list. Look at that every morning before you start diving in, which most people do. They get up, they get to their desk. All right, roll up my sleeves. What do I got to do? Oh my God, 97 items. What do I do first? No, what you do first is you narrow that down to the one thing that you could work on that would give you the most bang for the buck. All right, so that's a little bit about Pareto and extreme Pareto. All right, let's see what's next. All right. And here's the question that Gary Keller peppers throughout the One Thing book. What's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? I love this question. I recommend you put it on your refrigerator door. You get there and you stop and read that, and the one thing that you can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary, might not be to open the refrigerator door and get a snack. It might be to go right back to your desk and make a phone call. And that one phone call, if you connect with that person, if my goal was to get more exposure, what better way than to make one phone call to Boyd and James and say, hey guys, do you have any other options for me? Other places I can speak and spread the word and meet more people. I don't know how many people are on the call today. I hope there's, thousands, millions, who knows? But I'm getting exposure way beyond just talking to one person at a time. So keep this question in mind. Ask yourself this question periodically throughout the day. What's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? All right, I want to talk a little bit about multitasking. Everybody says, oh, I'm great at it. I'm fantastic at it. Some people say, well, I may not be that great, but I do it all the time. And they're like full of pride. No. Do not multitask. I will, if we have time, I will prove it to you. If not, I'll give you a little activity or exercise that you can do that will prove to you that multitasking does not work. And here's author Clifford Nass. I was sure that multitaskers, he studied multitasking, that they had some secret ability, but it turns out that high multitaskers are suckers for irrelevancy. They were outperformed on every measure. Although they convinced themselves and the world that they were great at it, there was just one problem. multitaskers were just lousy at everything. And I'm going to explain why in a minute. Here's another quote from another author. Multitasking is merely the opportunity to screw up more than one thing at a time. So we can't really do this because I can't see people, but here's what I will offer to you as a little activity. It takes no more than about 4 or 5 minutes, and you will be able to prove to yourself that you cannot multitask. The reason why most people can't is it's called switching. When you switch from one task to another, you lose time. Because in order to get up to speed on that new task, you might have to stop and think about it a little bit. I'll give you one example. You're sitting at your desk. You're working on your computer. You got the screen up, you're typing away, everything is going great. And somebody walks by your door. Let's say you left it open by mistake. They walk by your door, or if you're in a cubicle, you don't even have a door. They walk past your cubicle, or if you're at home in your office, your wife, spouse, partner, somebody knocks on the door, opens it, and says, "Hi, how you doing?" And you turn around and you say, "Oh, great, sweetie. Hi, I'm doing fine. What do you want?" She says, "Oh, nothing. Just wanted to say hi." "Oh, great." And you turn back to your computer, and what do you have to do? You have to look at what you were writing pretty much from the start. Let's say it was a very important email you're sending to the CEO of a company that you want to get into to do a training or to offer a service or a product. And you have to read the entire email to see where was my train of thought, because my train just got derailed, just got, knocked off the track. And you know how hard it is to put a train back on the track again. They got to bring in all this equipment and, rope off the area if there's toxic fumes and whatever. So anytime you multitask and you switch to another activity, you're going to lose time and become less efficient and effective. So here's the activity. This is what you do. You get a pen and a piece of paper and a stopwatch. And you say, "Ready, set, go." And I want you then to write down all the numbers from 1 to 26. So as fast as you can, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 29, 25, 26. And then right underneath that, A, B, C, D, all the way to Z. And then stop the timer. In the classes where I would do this, I did this with 400 some odd people. The fastest person ever was 29 seconds. Some people were still at it after 45, 50 seconds, some almost a minute, but the vast majority of people came in at around 45 seconds. All right, so 30 seconds fastest person, 45 for most people. Then I said, "Okay, great, we're going to do this again, only you're going to do it a little bit differently. Same pen, same piece of paper. I would be timing them. You'll be timing yourself. Only this time, I want you to do it like this. The number, then the letter. So 1, and right under it, A, 2, B, 3, C. I'm purposely making you switch. 1, A, 2, B, 3, C, all the way to 26, Z, stop the timer. If I could see all of you, I would ask, how many of you think it took people longer to do it that way? Everybody, of course it did. In my class, the fastest person was 45 seconds as compared to 30. That's a 50% increase in time. And some people, after a minute and a half, I stopped and I said, "Forget it. The rest of you, forget it. You flunked. You're done. We're done. We got to move on." But do it yourself. If you don't believe me, time yourself. Some people gave up. So, "Brad, I got so frustrated by the time I had to go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L." Okay. And they just got lost. And their handwriting was terrible and scribbled. And they couldn't even read it. But you will find that it'll take you about minimally 50% longer to get something done when you're multitasking than when you focus and stay very clear on the one thing that you should be working on. So hopefully that's helpful. Hopefully you won't kill me after you do it and get frustrated, but go ahead and time yourself 1 through 26, A through Z the first time, and then 1A, 2B, 3C, and just look at your clock and see. I guarantee you will find that it took you a lot longer. All right, so that's multitasking. You don't want to do that. You want to stay focused. All right, that was all part 1. Part 1 was, okay, where am I going? What are my goals? why should I stay focused? James, did you have something? I see you're back on live, but did you have a question or comment? No? Okay. So that's part one. Just getting clear about where you want to go. What are your goals? Who's on your team? A lot of the stuff that Dan talked about, or the vision and your values and all that. You've done all that. You're all set. You're ready to go. Now, part two, the 5-step time blocking process. So this is something that I started for myself. I do it every Sunday. I started in October of 1982, probably before a lot of you were even born. I don't know who's on the call, but I don't know, 1982, that's a lot of years. It's going to be 40 years. It's 39 years last month in October. And I have never missed a Sunday. I pretty much do it exactly the way that I've outlined it here for you. I'll modify a little here and there, you know, over time I've changed a little bit, but basically what I want you to do is just, it's 5 steps. You do it. I recommend Sunday. Some of my clients did it Friday afternoon, usually not a good idea because sometimes they forget, they get invited out for drinks after work or whatever, or their team had an emergency meeting. I like Sunday. It's a quiet day, day of reflection. Most people, they're kind of gearing up for Monday, hit the ground running. And it will take you anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes when you first start to learn this process. I can now do it in 20 because I'd say I'm a master at it. You know, almost 40 years, 50 weeks, what's that? Over 2,000 times I've done this. So when you get good at it, you can get it down to 20 minutes. But right now, figure about 30 to 60 minutes. And you block, by the way, you block that time into your calendar. So it should say 9 to 10, block my week that's coming up, or, you know, 6 to 7 p.m. after the kids are in bed and we're done with dinner, or whenever it is for you. But sometime on Sunday, block it out. Do these 5 steps. So here we go. By the way, if you're taking notes, great. But at the end, I'm going to have a free offer. If people will email me, I'll give my email address. You just email me. I'm going to send you the entire PowerPoint. I'll send you the workbook that goes with it. And then you can teach this to others as long as you tell them where it came from. You don't have to send me a check or pay me money, but at least say, I learned this from this guy named Brad Warren. He's a former business coach. This is what he taught me. And then you can teach them this material yourself. I'm totally fine with that. If you charge money for it, you send that money to me. So you got to do it for free. That's one thing. You're just on the honor system. But I'll send you the PowerPoint and the workbook that goes with it so that you can do this on your own. You can study it. And the workbook includes some additional resources like what I'm about to do now. I actually have it on one whole page. So you don't have to take a whole lot of notes. You'll get this. All right. So every Sunday, I said that. All right. Step 1, you pull out those goals. This is why I had talked about goals earlier. You actually pull out your written goals, which is what I got that guy who put it in the Brad folder and put it in the filing cabinet. He now, every Sunday, he pulls out the goals and he looks at his yearly, current quarter. So for us now, it's the 4th quarter, and monthly, November, his goals and his written plan of action for how he's going to accomplish that. And it's a quick review. I would say, what do my notes say? Yeah, about 5 minutes. 5 minutes, just, okay, here's what I said I wanted to accomplish. Oh, that goal. Now it's not a pity party. Oh, I said back in January, I wanted to have X number of sales and I'm only at X minus 20. Oh, I'm terrible. I'm a bad person. No, that's what I said in January. Here's where I am now. Do I need to adjust? Where do I need to adjust? What? Because most likely your goals from back in January and your plan from back in January is not what you're working on right now. Okay. And see, there was a distraction right there. Somebody calling me on my cell phone. So I'll just get back to it later. So a couple of minutes, review quarterly, yearly, current quarter, and current monthly goals and your written plan of action just as a review to remind yourself what you're up to. What are you about? What is it you're trying to accomplish? All right, step number 2, go back over the previous week for lessons learned. So I look back just 1 week. I don't go back over my entire life. That's too many lessons. Can't handle that. I'll go back 1 week. what did I do last week I'm really proud of? What did I do last week that's really something I want to pat myself on the back for? Or is there somebody I forgot to pat on the back for something they did for me? Maybe I need to acknowledge somebody that slipped my mind. Maybe I learned something about not putting meetings back to back to back, because if the first one runs over a little bit, then the second and the third one, I'm already late now for the next two. So you leave a little bit of what we call white space, because I use a pen and paper planner. People have been trying to get me to do it on my phone or on the computer. I'm old fashioned. I have a more time book. It's right over there, and it's got my weekly schedule. And white space is, the gap between one meeting and the next. Time to recover, go to the bathroom, get a snack, get some water, though I keep my water right here, and maybe just gather myself and get ready and prepare for the next one. So review the previous week for lessons learned. What did you discover just over the last 7 days that you did really well that you want to do again? And what did you do not so well that you could up your game? You could change something, move it around a little bit. All right, so that's step 2. Again, only about 5 minutes on that step. So 5 and 5, 10. All right, so now time blocking your weekly schedule. Here's where the rubber meets the road. This usually takes about 20 minutes. So literally, you either pull out, let's see if I can show you what it looks like. Let's see if I got, yeah, here. When you get the workbook, I don't know if this is going to show up, but I think people can sort of see that in the camera. So it's just,
We see it.
Sunday. Yeah, it says Sunday, Monday, Tuesday across the top. I'm not as good with PowerPoints as Dan. He had his nice little grid there. But you had Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then it starts at 5 a.m., 5:36, 6:37, all the way down to 6 p.m. So it's like got 13 hours worth of stuff. And that's what you use to time block out your week. So if you saw my schedule, you would see, well, it's 8:30 Mountain Time. For me, it started at 7:30. I'm an hour earlier here in Pacific Time. So from 8 to 9 Pacific Time, blocked into my calendar is do my presentation. And 7:30 to 8 is join the webinar so that I'm clear that I've got a connection and it's working, and I can hear the first speaker to see if there's anything from him that I want to steal, anything I want to borrow from Dan's presentation and weave into mine so that it's kind of seamless. And hopefully I've done that. I've taken, a couple of things that he said, very relevant to what we're doing now. So you block out your week. Now, some of you, the little voice inside your head, and by the way, every one of you has a little voice inside your head. It's the one that just said, I don't have one of those. Who's he talking to? Only crazy people have a voice inside their head. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with him. That's the little voice I'm talking about. Okay, yummy, 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 yummy. It's going all the time. The little voice inside your head probably said, well, Brad, a lot of my schedule's already planned, like next week and 2-3 weeks out. I've got meetings and regular meetings that I go to and events and things are already in the calendar. Great, that's fine. That's already there. By the way, it's 2 pages in order to have the whole week. So if you're doing it on pen and paper, you have this and you look at it, you double check, make sure, oh my gosh, I put 2 people in the same slot. Oh, what am I going to do? I got to call somebody Monday morning and move them. So you're looking to see did you double book anything? Back pre-COVID, you had to travel. Well, did you take into account the time of day and the amount of traffic that you might run into when you plan those back-to-back or meetings with very little time in between? Now with Zoom, you get done with one, you go right to the next one. You could have 5 meetings in a row and be totally on time for every single one of them, not have to get dressed up, no gas, the air is cleaner. There's some advantages to Zoom, like me being able to do this webinar without having to travel to Mountain Time, Colorado, or wherever you guys are, Utah, wherever the heck Mountain Time is. So you want to go over with a fine-tooth comb your entire schedule for the week, checking to make sure you didn't double book anybody, making sure you've left enough time between to prepare. And what happens many times is, let's say I get to Thursday. Well, actually, when planning for this week, I'll give you a real example. So Sunday, a few days ago, 5 days ago, Sunday, I planned out this week. And I got to Friday and I said, okay, I'm on with James and Boyd from 8 to 9 a.m. California time. Oh, I better prep. Oh, when am I going to do that? And I went back to Wednesday and I blocked 30 minutes, review my PowerPoint, make sure I could find it first of all, because it's, I got a lot of stuff on my computer. Find the PowerPoint, review, go over it, check all my papers and my notes, make sure I've got everything that I want, figure out the offer. What am I going to give away for free to everybody? And that was on Wednesday. And I even put it again on Thursday to do it a second time, just to make sure that I was ready to go. This was an hour-and-a-half presentation at the National Association of Realtors conference. I had to cut it down to an hour for today. So I needed to check and make sure that I was, condensing, not giving all the stories that I wanted to give, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So all that took place on Wednesday and Thursday in preparation for today. So that's what time blocking does. It will pop up into your consciousness things that are 2, 3, 4, 5 days away, but that need attention on Monday or Tuesday, where you have to prepare a report or look up somebody's phone number or whatever it is. And then that to-do goes onto your success list as a task and you block it in. All right. So that will take you a while to do that. And that's fine. Have it be a while. It'll be the best 20 minutes that you'll spend that week. There was a quote that I actually skipped earlier. Many people spend an entire year planning for one day, a bar or bat mitzvah, a wedding, a graduation, a quinceañera, I think it's called, when you turn 16, okay? They'll spend an entire year planning for one day, but they won't spend one day planning for an entire year. And in my example here, you have 168 hours this next coming week, starting this Sunday, because I'm hoping everybody on this call puts down on their Sunday, this coming Sunday, whatever day that is, 12, 13, 14th, I think it is, Sunday, November the 14th. Hopefully you've already blocked an hour into your calendar to plan your week. I say the same thing. You got 168 hours this week. Why not spend one of those hours getting very clear about how you're going to spend or invest your time? Because you can't really spend time, but how you're going to spend your time, utilize your time. Those other 167, put in the one to get more out of the 167. To me, that is leverage. That is, Archimedes, I think, give me a leverage, give me leverage, and I can move the world. If you spend just that 1 hour figuring out what you're going to do in the other 167, you'll get more done in less time and with less stress, which was my promise at the start. That's the whole purpose of this hour training, is to help you get more done in less time with less stress. So time block your weekly schedule. All right, next, step 4, time block your lead generation and lead follow-up time. Now, I know the little voice inside most of your heads just said, but Brad, isn't blocking lead generation and lead follow-up, isn't that part of step 3? Shouldn't I already be doing that? The answer is yes. But I made it its own step because from my experience of 40 years of coaching people, one of the things that I found over and over and over again is my clients did not specifically block into their calendar time to go after new people and time, and these are different, time to follow up with people already in their database. So I very specifically have made this step number 4 to make sure. And then, they would send me their weekly schedule on Sunday and I'd review it. And when we had our coaching call, we would kind of go over, hey, I see you only blocked 3 hours for door knocking. That's back when you could actually go and door knock as a real estate agent. Is knocking on doors 3 hours this week going to get you the number of listings that you're hoping for? Because you have a goal to get a lot of listings by meeting people that want to sell their house. You chose farming and door knocking as your way to do it. Is 3 hours enough? For most people, the answer was no. They generally under-scheduled lead generation and lead follow-up. So look at your own calendar and make sure that you have very specific times when you are going to go find new people. Now, some of you may have automated that. That's great. It's, Facebook ads, they're running automatically. people are getting put into your CRM, your management system, great. Keep paying for that if it's working. But for some of us, for me, lead generation is going to networking events. It used to be speaking. Speaking was my #1 way to find new coaching clients. I would speak at real estate offices and I would get new coaching clients for me to coach. Realtors were my primary target market. Can't do that anymore. In fact, I'm not a coach anymore, so I don't. But now I go to network. I go to Zoom networking meetings. I attend probably anywhere from 4 to 8 a week to meet new people. And my business is thriving. I'm getting people that want to invest in land. I'm getting leads. So that's working really well. So make sure you have time blocked. For me, it's about anywhere from 4 to 8 hours per week. And then there's the time to do the one-on-ones. I do about another 4 to 8 one-on-ones per week with the people that I met in those Zoom meetings. So, but that is very carefully scheduled into my calendar, the lead generation and the follow-up time. All right, so that's step 4. And step 5 is everything else. Going to the gym, working out. Now, for me, I will say I do it a little bit differently. I meditate first, I work out second, and then I do business. Now, I have the luxury of being semi-retired. I'm a little older than most of you. I'm actually 70 years old, so I've been on the planet for a while, and I'm semi-retired. So I don't have to work quite as hard. Some of you on this call, maybe you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, you're in the prime of your careers. Maybe you're just getting going, or maybe you're like really hitting it. But for me, meditating, so I'm taking care of my mindset and my spirit, that's first. Then I work out, so I take care of my body. Now, I didn't do it this morning because I got up and I got right on the call. So I haven't done that yet. But once I'm done with this call, I will meditate and work out before I go to my 11 o'clock meeting. But everything else, all that other stuff, after you've got your business calendar. And the reason I say, people say, but Brad, isn't family more important? Isn't spirit more important? Isn't God more important? Well, yeah, you're right. They are. But, or maybe I say, and you can't do all those things if you don't have money in the bank. If you're constantly fretting about the next paycheck, where my next dollar is coming from, if you're looking at your bank account and freaking out, then you're not going to be able to connect to God. You're not going to be able to meditate because your mind is going to be too busy chattering away about what you think you should be doing, making phone calls. So I tell people, schedule your work first and then put in the other stuff around that, just to make sure that you've got enough money in the bank to take care of yourself and everybody else that's important to you, including giving back to your community as well. All right, so that's what I mean by everything else. All right, so that's the 5-step process. And a couple more things, and we're going to wrap up, and I'll tell you about the special offer. All right. All right, so step 1, we got clear about our vision, our goals. We got the right people on the bus. They're in the right seats. We know where we're going. We got our goals. Now we've blocked out our week. Now you got to protect it. You can do, I'll tell you, you can spend an hour on Sunday, block out your week in infinitesimal detail of what you're going to get done. And I will promise you that plan will get blown to the high heavens at 9:05 on Monday morning with the first phone call that comes in, and you answer when you shouldn't. Maybe that was lead generation time. And you say, oh, look, John's calling. I wonder what he wants. And you pick it up and your world explodes and your whole calendar goes to hell in a handbasket. So you need to protect your time blocks. Here are a couple of suggestions. And if you do number 1, everything else falls into place. Keep your word. If I asked you, who is the person to whom you most break your word with, probably all of you would be pointing at yourself right now. We break our word. For some reason, we think it's okay to break a promise we made to ourselves, but I can't break promises to others. No. I don't want to be seen as a liar or somebody that you can't count on. Well, guess what? It's the same thing if you break your word to yourself. So keep your word. If you said you were going to lead generate from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Monday morning, then that's what you do. Unless there's an emergency. Yes, I get it, emergencies. I define emergency as a challenge or situation requiring immediate action or attention. that usually means blood on the floor. Somebody's dying. This is an accident. That's an emergency. But if it's not a challenge or situation requiring immediate action or attention, then you don't get distracted by it. You keep your word. You do what you said you were going to do from 9 to 10. And yes, you modify a little bit throughout the day. That's always going to happen. All right, build a bunker. So my bunker, I'm in my office. The door's closed. I've made absolutely clear I'm not going to be disturbed by anybody. I wish I could turn off my phone. It's still, I haven't figured out how to turn the ringer off on it. Unfortunately, we haven't been bothered. My cell did go off and I kind of leaned over and swiped it and said decline. So hopefully that took care of that. But you want to build a bunker around yourself so that you can stay very focused. Store provisions. Here's my water bottle. Haven't had a drink yet. I probably will as soon as I'm done with the hour and I'm getting a little dry. But you might have some healthy snacks around. Stapler, pen, a sticky notepad, whatever your provisions are that you need in order to not have to keep getting up and going across the room, going to the refrigerator or whatever. You want to be able to just work. I'm talking about some serious work time here. So you get stuff done and feel like you've accomplished something. So store those provisions, have them close by. Sweep for minds. So look around. Is there anything else that's going to distract me? Is the cat underneath? Nope, no cat. Okay, great. I got rid of the cat. There's nothing else here. I'm not going to get distracted by that. Okay, great. I'm ready to rock and roll. I don't have my laptop open, so I'm not going to get distracted by a second screen. So you sweep for minds and then enlist support. First thing I did, 3 minutes before it was my turn to come online, I went out in the kitchen because I heard my wife there and I said, hi, sweetie, it's me. Hug and a kiss. Good morning. Hey, I'm going to be on a call. I'm going to be doing a seminar for an hour. Do not knock on the door. And she said, oh, I need to get the birdseed out of your room. So she came in, grabbed the birdseed, ran out. Okay. So I enlisted her support. That's done. That's handled. Nothing to worry about. I can now focus entirely on delivering the best possible seminar that I can. So that's how to protect your time box. One more thing on that. It's learning how to say no politely and effectively. I'll give you a quick example. It's one Gary Keller talks about 4 thieves that steal your time. And he said, one of them is the inability to say no. He said, every yes must be defended over time by 1,000 no's. You're going to have to turn stuff away because you're focused on your one thing and you're going to stay focused, hopefully even more so after today. But Steve Jobs was one of the classic examples of this. In the 2 years after his return to Apple in 1997, Jobs took Apple from 350 products to 10. Let that sink in for a minute. 350 Apple products when he took over, and within 2 years, he narrowed that down to 10, which means he said no to 340 products or services that Apple was offering that he said, we ain't offering that no more. It's gone. That's focus. All right. So you need to say no. So here's a quick little helper, a quick little slide to help you. So when you know you have to say no to somebody, step 1, always say it early. Don't wait. Oh, Harry, let me think about that. Sally, give me 10 minutes. I'll get back to you. No, because your will is gonna get depleted. It's a distraction. Say it, always say it early. Acknowledge the other person. Hey, Jorge, listen, thank you very much for coming in to ask me to stay late on Friday. I appreciate your confidence in me to do that and to lock up the office and everything. However, as I originally told you, the answer is no, but thank you for offering it to me. That's acknowledging. Step 3, assertively decline again. But Jorge, I got to tell you, it's absolutely no. I cannot stay late on Friday. And then step 4, account for resources. I'll tell you why. I promised my kid I would be at their soccer game. I missed the one last week because I stayed late. I am not going to miss this week's soccer game. I'm done working at 5 and I'm going to be there at 5:30 when the game starts. Step 5, offer an alternative suggestion. But have you talked to Sarah down in accounting? She's in the middle of a big project. I know she works late anyway. Maybe she can lock up the office because she's going to be here anyhow. So always say no early, acknowledge the other person, assertively decline again so that they know you're serious, account for resources by explaining why, giving them a reason why, and then offer on an alternative suggestion. And then door hanger, what did I do? I think I inadvertently, I buried it somewhere. Up here it is. So it says door hanger down at the bottom. So, so here's a little door hanger we used to give out in the one thing. And it says, in case I can't say no, this sign will have to do it for me. So if you have trouble saying no, get one of these, put it on your door, and then people come to your office, they see that and they go, well, can't disturb Brad right now. All right. Okay, I got 6 minutes. Oh, I did it in under an hour. This is fantastic. Thank you for attending. Have a great day. So here's what I've got for all of you in the remaining couple of minutes. First of all, my email is very easy. And I don't know if you guys can post this in the chat or whatever, but it's just my name, brad@bradwarren.com. I'll say it again, brad@bradwarren.com. You send me an email. Now, I'm not going to promise to do it today. Give me a couple of days. But if you send me an email, here's what I will email back to you. The PowerPoint slide, the full workbook that we would give out to audience participants. So that's where you take notes and you can go back and watch this. You know, you can bring up the slides again. I don't know if this is being recorded, but if it is and you're getting, they're shaking their head, yes, or Boyd is. So you can go back to the recording with the notebook now, take notes into the notebook, and then, like I said, train others. There'll also be the workbook also has a resource page. So it has some websites, it has some other books, other things. You can go to my website. I have some free handouts on how to overcome procrastination, how to delegate, stuff like that. So a whole bunch of extra stuff in that workbook. So you get the slides, you get the workbook, and you will get a free ebook. I'm not going to mail this to you, but this is a book that I wrote. It's called Just Sold, the Real Estate Professional's Guide to Selling More in Less Time. And I know the little voice in your head said, but Brad, I'm not a real estate professional. Just substitute whatever you are for real estate professional. The CPA's Guide to Getting More Done in Less Time. The Solopreneur's Guide to Getting More Done in Less Time. The Lawyer's Guide to Getting More Done in Less Time. The principles in here are the same for everybody. Even employees can get some value. Now, I know as an employee, your time is taken up by doing what the boss says you're supposed to do or what your job description says. So you're not at as much liberty to plan your week, but you still could do that. But everybody else, you'll get the ebook version of this free. I don't know how many pages. It's 120 something pages. Yeah, I nailed it. 123 pages. You'll get the book in the ebook version. I will send that to anybody that emails brad@bradwarren.com. And with that, I'm going to give you back 3 minutes of extra time. If you guys have some wrap-up stuff you want to say, go right ahead. And thank you all. Thank all of you that are on today for attending. Hopefully you're getting a lot out of today, and stay on. There's more people after me, more good stuff coming up.
Well, thank you so much, Brad. That was really good. I don't know about anybody else, but I have pages of notes from this. So thank you. And I'm going to send for the notes so that I actually get the full written one, because you were going so fast in some of them. I missed a couple things, but that's okay, because we're going to get that back here shortly. Thank you so much for giving us all that stuff too. If there's any questions that you may have for Brad, quickly throw them into the chat and we'll ask him. But if not, we're going to give away another trip right now. And so we gave a trip. Oh, actually, we'll wait until after Shanna's to give. Otherwise, I'm giving away a trip an hour, and I'll run out, and we'll have 2 hours without. So we're going to do it after that. So,
but Boyd, very quick. I just checked the chat to see if there's anything. And thank you. I'll just use his first name, Jeff. He says, "No way, Brad does not look 70 years old." So thank you, Jeff. Thank you. I appreciate the compliment. I don't feel 70. My wife will tell you I don't act like I'm 70. That's for sure. But yeah, good living and having good goals and good people surrounded around me and all that. You can lead a very, very happy life for a very, very long time.
Well, good. Thank you for the advice.
Yeah, thank
Okay.
you, Brad. It was awesome. I told you before during the radio show that I know that I make a great schedule Sunday night and it always goes to crap by Monday morning. So,
All right. Well, we're going to bring Shanna up now. And so I'm going to send you back. Thank you, Brad.
thanks, Brad.
So here comes Shanna. I've got her being brought up. She's going to be our next presenter. So Shanna, we'll get to introducing her in just a moment when she gets here. There she is.
Here she is.
I hope you've learned something. I mean, Dan really gave some great information. Brad added to that information. That's what we try to do with our with all of these people that we have on our conferences, is we want them to be able to add to the value of the person before them. And next up is Shanna. And so Shanna is going to be teaching about growing and retaining your most valuable assets. And if you don't know what they are, trust me, it's not just your customers, but it's also your employees. And so and she's going to be telling us more about that. Shanna, I'm going to turn it over to, yes.
I was going to say, while you give away another thing, I was going to do a self promotion for our next class, which will be December 2nd.
Yes, that's a good idea. So December 2nd is the Success for 2022. And that will be happening in the afternoon. It'll be from 1:30 to 5:30. And we have some great speakers for that. And I will, here in a couple of more sessions after it, I'll tell you who's going to be speaking at that. But we have Dano Yavara. I know he's going to be on it. And there's several others. And if you haven't ever heard Dano speak, you got to. I mean, this is a guy who rubs shoulders with a lot of the bigwigs over on the West Coast in Silicon Valley, but he now rubs shoulders with all those people in Silicon Slopes. But, you know, he has some great insights. I spoke with him yesterday. We were teaching some classes for a innovation center, and he has lots to be able to say, and it really is important what he says. So he'll be one of them. I'm going to turn it over to Shanna, though, and go ahead and introduce yourself, and then let's get going, because we want as much time for you. Go ahead, Shanna.
Perfect. I hope I don't mess things up when I share my screen and stuff, but yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thank you, Boyd and James, for allowing me to present on this. It's a fun subject, and it's one of my specialties. I love retention of customers and employees.
Okay.
Great.
So go ahead and share, and I'll tell you if it's working or not.
Okay, so I'm going to share. Okay, I'm going to share that screen. Okay, and then share. And that's
from beginning.
Yeah, from
so
beginning.
that's not the one.
Well, that's not the one.
Hold on one sec. So this is the one. Okay.
Well, it says growing and retaining your most valuable assets.
Yeah. Do you see the PowerPoint or do you see my notes?
We see the PowerPoint, but the notes are included. Click the button in the upper left-hand corner that says from beginning.
On my, okay. Let's see, PowerPoint. Okay, from beginning. Okay.
There you go. Now we got it.
And do you just see the
Just a slide. Just
Okay.
a slide. You're good to go.
Oh my goodness. Okay, that's funny. Okay, so I'll go ahead and start then. Some of the things that I wanted to share. Number one, thank you so much for allowing me to present. And sometimes when you present, it reminds you of everything that you've forgotten, all the nuts and bolts that you normally would know to do and the things that you learn. But as you go through your daily life, busy, sometimes you forget to do some of the minor things that really make a big difference. And so presenting to me is huge because it reminds me of everything that I already know and should be doing. And it also helps me to be able to train and share knowledge with others. So it's really, really a valuable thing to me. Let me go ahead. Let me share my screen. So if I hit enter. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is the number one employee and customer is you. Very, very important that you are taking care of yourself. As entrepreneurs, we have a tendency to work ourselves to the ground, and we'll work 12-hour days, we'll work 14-hour days. And a lot of us, including me, we will actually work a full day at work, or we'll have kids at home all day, and then we'll work on our business. So it really takes a toll. So we have to remember to take time out for ourselves, take breaks. One of the things about breaks is I'll sit sometimes all day long without getting up and going and getting water. So the important thing is you can set a smartwatch, you can time block, 15 minutes throughout your day, time blocks to just get up, stand, stretch, take care of yourself. And it's just really important that you're taking care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of your employees and your customers. Make sure that you're eating healthfully and getting some exercise. I know that some of us will get up in the morning and we'll go straight to work instead of having a smoothie or doing some stretches or even taking a walk around your house or around your block. Really, really important to make sure that you're not getting out of bed and immediately going to work. Remember, we need to take care of ourselves. You need to take some downtime and enjoy that. When you take downtime, you're taking care of yourself mentally and physically. So then you can actually effectively serve others when you're doing that. And effectively serving others would be effectively serving your employees and your customers. One of the most profitable things that you can do is look after you. Entrepreneurship can create stress, and stress can lead to bad decisions. So we want to make sure that we're not making bad decisions because we're stressed out. Downtime will allow us to be introspective with ourselves and our business, because we cannot force good ideas if we aren't taking care of ourselves, taking some downtime, meditating to think about new things that are happening. And a lot of times when I'm just taking downtime, that's when my best ideas will come to me. And so I remember when I was younger, I used to not take downtime because I thought that it wasn't productive. But now when I take downtimes, that's when I come up with my best ideas. So if you can force yourself to just take a little bit of downtime and just be introspective and think about things, you'll see that things will come to you. You'll be less stressed and you can move on with your day. Remember that you're the driver of your business, and your employees are actually looking up to you, and your customers are counting on you. So you need to take care of yourself, and you reflect the culture of your business, and you need to work and have a work-life balance so that you can pass that on to your employees, because you want your employees to do the same thing. You want them to have a work-life balance. Okay, so remember that you set the tone for your team. Okay, so remember your number one employee is you. And I just want to talk a little bit about work-life balance. This is more going into goals, which I love to teach, but it's so important that we have a work-life balance. And one of the things that I teach is on the right, you'll see the well-rounded. It's just an exercise where you'll take financial, you'll take your relationships, you'll take your spiritual, and you will actually rate yourself of where you think you are in any one of those categories. Financial would be business, relationships could be with family, it could be friends, it could be with a partner or a spouse. Spiritual would be meditation, it might be going to the mountains, it might be going to a church if you're religious. So that is different for everyone. Self-improvement is mind and body, taking care of your mind, listening and learning new things. taking care of yourself, and your health is making sure that, again, you're eating healthfully and exercising. When you rate those, if your wheel is not fairly round, then what's going to happen is you're going to end up limping your way through life. Your tire is just going to be flat on one area. And sometimes when it's flat, you don't really go any further. So make sure that you have goals in all areas of your life. One of the things that's really important to know is that if you're always focusing on your business, and so you're always kind of in that financial mode, then you're not taking care of yourself. You're not taking care of your relationships. And so what can happen then is you reach your goals and you reach that pinnacle in your business, but then you don't have anyone to share it with, and your health isn't good. So just remember how important it is to always make sure that you take time out for every part of your life. Okay, so now I'm going to go into employees. So remember that you are number one and you set the tone. So happy employees equal happy customers. If your employees aren't happy, it is going to drain on your employees. They're not going to treat you, or your customers, they're not going to treat your customers like you want them to treat your customers. So make sure that when you're working with your employees, that they're happy. And so I want to talk first about meeting one-on-one with your employees. Personally, I have a 3-week recurring meeting set with every employee of mine, and it's for 45 minutes. And when we get together, we talk about, we actually follow up from the last one-on-one that we had. So any undone things or any discussions that you had, you want to follow up on those things and make sure that they don't have questions, make sure that things got finished, make sure that nothing is left open. That's really important. You'll also want to recognize their accomplishments. And if you can think of something specific to recognize them for, something they did a great job at, that makes a big difference in your employee. It makes them feel good for doing a great job and knowing that you recognize what they do for your company. Ask them if there's anything that you can provide for them. Ask them if there are any tools they need that's holding them back in their job. Ask them if there's any training you can give them that they might need to be better. One of the other things that I think is really important is getting to know them as a person. Know who their spouse or their partner is. Know their kids' names. Know what they love to do as hobbies and talk about it. That's one of the things that after on a one-on-one, after we get through all the business stuff, I always go into personal and I ask about their family. I ask about the health. I always make sure that that person knows that I care about them and that it's coming from my heart. It makes people want to do more for you and be a better employee because they know that you care. One of the important things about one-on-ones is make sure that you're engaged with your employee. Make sure that you're engaged in the meeting and that you're not thinking about the 10 things that you have on your list and what you have to get to. Don't check your watch all the time, and especially don't have a very important meeting set up directly after your one-on-one, because if it runs a little bit late, you don't want to have to cut things off. So very, very important to make people feel whole and feel valued is to meet with them one-on-one. Also spend time as a team. So if you have more than one employee, spend time as a team. It's really important that the employees know each other as well and they feel valued as a team. You can do a daily stand-up that's maybe 10 minutes long and just talk about the day or talk about the day before and what has happened or what needs to be done. Find out who might need help in the job that they have to complete that day. Those are the things that you can do in daily stand-ups. You can also have a weekly meeting, which weekly meetings are good. They would be a little bit longer and just as valuable, but maybe talk about what happened that week and what's coming up the next week. Make sure everybody's contributing to the meeting so that they feel important and that everyone is listening, and no judgment in a meeting, for sure. You got to make sure you do that. Use the next thing is find your employees' strengths and use them. What I learned a long time ago is you may have a fabulous employee. They're there every day. They're there on time. They love your company. They love your customers, but they might be in the wrong seat. You might be having them do a job that is not where their strengths are. So make sure you're looking at your employees and that you're using their strengths and allow them to shine in the strengths that they have. Energize your team. I want to talk about this. So research. So I want to talk about a little bit of research. So research with the Heart Math Institute. You can find their information at heartmath.org. They have some really great stuff. Anyway, they did some research, and I'll just read this. It shows that when you have a feeling in your heart, it goes to every cell of your body, then outward and onto people about 10 feet away. So anyone that is within your, 10 feet away from you, they can sense your feelings, whether they're good, bad, positive, negative. So you're broadcasting to your team and your customers how you feel. So make sure that you are having positive energy, and that you're passionate about what you're doing, and they'll be able to feel if you're indifferent or if you don't have a good purpose. So make sure that you're bringing in positive energy whenever you're around. There was also research at the Harvard University that supports the same idea that emotions are contagious, and that it will affect the people around you. So the more positive you can be, the better off your company is going to be. The culture you bring into your company is going to run rampant. So make sure that your culture is a good culture of caring, of appreciation, of respect for everyone around you. Okay, so as a number of, so remember that your energy, your attitude, and everything else that you bring in makes a difference with the people around you. One of the last things I want to share with you is that you share your vision with your employees. When you share the end goal that you have for your employees, then they will help you drive your business in that direction. If they know where you're going, what you want, why you're doing it, what the purpose is, they'll buy in and they'll be there for you. So make sure that you're sharing your vision, because it makes people feel special if they know what and why you're doing things. And you'll find that they'll be much better employees and they'll be more involved in the company. So make sure that you're sharing your vision with them. Okay, so customers. So happy customers equal happy you. We all want our customers to be happy, and so that they will return, and so that we'll experience some retention. I want to talk just a little bit about some retention numbers. So I'm currently a director of client services. I talk to the customers regularly. And this company has grown from 30 million 2 years ago in revenue to this year we'll do about 60 million. So in 2 years, we've grown and we've doubled to $60 million. Really, really important to know that, what did I say, 87%, I looked it up, 87% of our business is from long-term customers who have been with us longer than 2 years, or from new customers that have been referred to us. So 87% of that $60 million is customers that are long-term. They like us, they like what we do because we treat them well. They also have sent referrals to us. So only 13% of our revenue this year is going to be from new customers that came in from, a website or a salesperson or whatever mode that they actually came to us in. So retention is something that will help you grow your business and be able to sell your business or, keep it in the family, whatever your goal is for your business. Ask for referrals. Referrals are really key to growing your business. I also want to talk a little bit about retention, about repeat business. So I actually had someone build a website for me, and I'm going back to them, and I want to talk about the numbers. I have some numbers that are some statistics, and I'm going back and having someone build another website for me. And this year I'll spend more than double than the last time I spent with this person. And that's what return customers give you. Here's some stats from regarding small businesses from the BIA Kelsey Institute. 50% of annual revenues are from repeat customers, which that's low for the company that I'm with, but this is a general small business survey. Repeat customers spend 67% more than customers, than new customers. Finding a new customer, and we all know how hard that is. It costs 5 times more to acquire a new customer than to just keep a customer. Repeat customers promote your business. And so a repeat customer in the survey or their research, a repeat customer refers 50% more potential buyers than a one-time buyer. A one-time happy buyer is 50% less likely to refer someone. So it's really important that we get that repeat business and we take care of our customers. Another thing I learned a while ago is I need to know what time it is. I'll try to stay on track. So, and just one more thing is about repeat customers is if you have a customer who is angry, like you shipped them the wrong product, or your service went wrong, something you did in your service went wrong or did not work. If you go back and you fix the issue, that customer is a more loyal customer than even a customer who has just been happy with you all along. So having fixed something that went wrong really does, in fact, make people more loyal to your business. Let's see. Know who your customer is. So the importance about knowing who your customer is you can drill down on exactly who they are. So I'm going to give you an example of, let's say that you're an eyewear company. You might have sunglasses. That's one type of customer, but another type of customer would be people who need to correct their vision. So those are two different markets. So sometimes what people will make a mistake is when they think that they're an eyeglass company, that they have this broad market that is all across all types of people. But really what you should do is drill down. Do you sell sunglasses? And in those sunglasses, are they goggles, for skiers, or are they glasses that someone might wear, bike riding, or just different types of sports, or do they just wear them to protect their eyes? Different types of customers versus the people who want corrected vision. So if you can drill down on your customer, then you can spend less money on marketing to get that exact customer that you're wanting. Real fun fact, we actually ship product for a dog goggle company, the actual dog goggles, which are really fun. So their market is strictly people with dogs and mainly outdoor dogs. So they have a very narrow market, and that's who they market to. Really important because you can put your money right in a specific area. The last thing I want to talk about on customers is know what your customers like. So I know a lot of us follow our passions, right? I teach goals, and so we always try to do what we love. And I know that I do what I love. So if we know what we love, then and we're doing what we love, then our customer is going to be a lot like us. So we're going to be able to ask questions to ourselves to be able to figure out what our customer likes. If you aren't doing what you love because you fell into a great market that is profitable and you're experienced at, then what you can do is you can survey your customers to find out what they like. And these are some questions that you can ask. Would you like to receive a thank you card? Or would you rather have a thank you email? What appeals to you most? Would you like to get a personal call from the owner of a company? How would that make you feel? Would it make you feel good? Or would you prefer that nobody bothers you on your phone? Would you like a discount on the product? Maybe a discount in your first order? Or would you rather have a punch card where you pay full price and then you get something free? Do you spend time on social media? And if you do spend time on social media, which I think all of us do because it's the way we market now, what social media channels do you use? And where do you spend most of your time? Do you open up ads when you see ads pop up or come up in your feeds? Do you open up ads? Do you visit websites? Or would you prefer to have a newsletter? When you're on a website, do you click on ads? Do you watch videos? Will you take the time to watch a video? If so, maybe your customer would take time to watch a video, and that's where you put your marketing dollars, is creating a little video where people can click. Let's see, what else? Oh, let's see. Do you like being part of a contest? That's always fun, right? Most of us like being a part of a contest. You always hope that you can win, or a drawing. And lastly, do you ask for referrals from your customers? That's really, really important. These are all ways that you can market to your customers and gain business through the channels that you personally like, because that's what your customer is going to like. Here are some of the service questions that you can ponder. Is what kind of service do you want from the person who's giving it to you? If you call to their office, do you want to get a live person, or would you prefer to get a live person? Or would you want a live person, or would you prefer to get a recording and be able to dial in to a specific department? For me, I like getting a live person. I like having someone answer a telephone. So think about that when you're setting up your phone systems, or having people answer your phones, of what your customer would like and prefer. Do you leave messages? Do you text? Do you like to use your cell phone, or would you rather have a desk phone? What hours do you wish that people were available? I know that when people work full-time, sometimes it's really hard to get to a business who has the same hours that you work. And so think about that. When can you be available for a customer? Maybe on off hours, even if it's only every other week or once a month, maybe make yourself available during those off hours when you work the same hours as your customers. Do you like being part of a focus group? Do you enjoy filling out surveys or leaving reviews? Is my time up? I can't see a clock. Okay.
You're coming up to it right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then do you wish that more people would leave reviews for you? That's really, really important. It will help you boost your business, and make sure that you're reaching out to people to leave a review. And remember, how do you like to be reached out to? That's how you can reach out to your customers.
Well, these are all great things. Shanna, thank you so much. And I like that. Treat others like they make a difference, and they will. Yes. And so many businesses don't do that as often as they should. And so it's a good thing that, and I appreciate that information. If anyone wants to reach out to you, talk to you more about this, how can they do that?
So they can either go to my website, beemancompany.com.
I see it there at the bottom, so that's good.
They can do a contact, they can just do the contact form, or you can just email me and I'm happy to send information. And my email address is simple as well. It's just shanna@shannabeeman.com.
Okay.
Thank you, Shanna. It's just a great deal of common sense. So people really should treat other people better.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you being here. That was really good information. Again, I was taking more notes, and so that's really good. So
Thank you for inviting me on.
Oh, you're very welcome. All right, we're going to put you back as an attendee, and we're going to be bringing up, let me see, who is next on our list?
Do you want to give away a trip block?
I'm going to, while I bring up Jeff Shoup. Do you want to bring up Jeff Shoup?
Sure.
And then I will give away a trip to someone here.
Okay.
Let's
Jeff
see here. And so, all right. I'm going to turn the time over to Jeff Shoup, but before I do, Jeff and I go back a few years as well. He has been coaching people for some time in many different areas. Mostly it's been CEOs, but he has been doing a lot more in personal level recently, because he finds that if you can raise your personal values and you feel you're better about yourself. And I believe, we've had 3 different people who've actually mentioned this, that it is important to do that. You as the owner. And so today, Jeff is going to be talking about the top performance leadership habits.
All right. Hello, A-teamers. Good to see you here. Let's talk about some high performance leadership. I'm going to talk about 3 qualities of some really super leaders, heroes in my book that I have read about and want to share with you. Qualities that you can cultivate, because I know you already have them. All right. Let's start out by asking a little bit of a question. Brian Tracy would ask a question like this all the time in his speaking, coaching videos, everything, book, whatever. What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? So I'm asking you, what would you do in 2022 if you knew you couldn't fail? What I like about that question is it helps us separate out all of our doubts, our fears, whatever we don't have, and we can just focus on what we want, make sure we clearly and specifically define what that is. And if we do that in our lives and our business, we'll get there. And that's been my experience. So the first quality I want to talk about is optimism. And what you have to understand about me is I'm not just going to talk about optimism. I'm going to talk about people. People that have succeeded with the quality. People that have demonstrated it to the nth degree. And you'll know these folks. Let's start off with J. Willard Marriott. Bill Marriott, as he was called. He grew up in the Ogden area as a young man. He worked on a farm, herded sheep and that sort of thing. So he had a tremendous work ethic. And I imagine in his family, it was a very positive environment, very optimistic. He ended up at the University of Utah where he got his degree. He met his wife there. During the summers, this guy worked hard. He made thousands of dollars. I mean, this is back in the 1920s. We're going back over 100 years here. And he made good money selling textiles and whatnot during the summers. In fact, he managed several different states for one company. They stiffed him a bit on the payment when he graduated, but that was that last summer. So he started off with a challenge. But what is interesting about him is while he was at the University of Utah, A&W Root Beer opened up a stand in Salt Lake City. And it was a hit. A&W was a hit. It was one of the few operations they had in different parts of the country. And Bill and Alice liked it. They went there I'm picturing them going there all the time. And I'm picturing Bill standing in front of that thinking, this is a gold mine. And he reached out. He wanted to open up a franchise. He had served a church mission back in the Washington, D.C., Maryland area, so he wanted that territory, and he took it. They got married, and they went back there and took all their money and did that and got going with that root beer stand. Very successful. I love this book, and you can go to a Marriott hotel or a library and you can find it. His biography, it chronicles the challenges that they had, which were fantastic, you know, even for a root beer stand. But the interesting thing, as you probably know, in the Washington, D.C. area, though, it tends to get pretty cold. And you wouldn't picture A&W root beer doing too well in 20-degree weather. And so the Marriotts decided, no, we need to open up something else. So what they did was they opened up something called hot shops. They wanted to serve, you know, tamales, soups, barbecued beef sandwiches, things like that. A lot of things of a Mexican variety of a menu. And what they actually did was they knocked on the door of the Mexican embassy in Washington, D.C. to get some of these recipes. Can you imagine that? Well, it succeeded, did very, very well, the first location. And they opened up more and more. Bill and Alice were very optimistic people. He was managing the business, taking care of the employees. She was doing a lot of the accounting and that sort of thing. That's how they started. They really had nothing when they started, except their optimism, their education, and, you know, the work ethic that they brought to the business. They did very, very well. But interestingly, as things progressed and they expanded the hot shops around the DC area, something happened back in 1929, as you well know. The Great Depression, stock market crash, 18 million people out of work, companies going belly up, banks going belly up. Okay, a lot of heartache during that time. But what is just fantastic to me to think about and contemplate is the fact that they expanded their business even during the Depression. They opened up more shops. They fed more people. They employed more people. They kept going. And they kept going for years after that, doing very, very well and expanding way out there. I think by 1950, they had some 88 hot shops going. And one of them was out by the airport, and people would take the food onto the planes, which led to, you know, airline services for the Marriotts. There was a piece of property out there that they had purchased, and they developed a 277-unit hotel, okay, for weary travelers to stay at. That was the first Marriott hotel. And it's just fantastic to think about. I mean, the Depression, 1929, then you had World War II, of course, that had to be contended with a decade or so later. And in spite of that, they kept growing. And over the years, the Marriott Corporation has done very, very well. They have an optimistic culture. If you read about it, I love Tom Peters' book. You have to understand, like I mentioned, I love biographies. I love to read about companies. I love to read about people and how they overcame challenges. And Tom Peters talks about the great service that the Marriott Corporation did. He wrote his books back in the 80s and 90s. And so what stood out to me about the Marriotts was the quality of optimism. Now, the next thing for us is, how do we get it? How does it grow? I mean, we got to get it. We got to grow it. First off, you've got it. You've got optimism. You wouldn't be in business. You wouldn't be part of the company that you're in if you didn't have optimism. But it is a quality that needs to continue to grow. It needs to be prevalent in our dispositions. It has to be part of our makeup, okay? And it can be. It's kind of like any other muscle, if you will. It has to be worked every day. I mean, we're going to have challenges with disappointment, failures, and things like that. But nonetheless, optimism, it's a choice. As we all know, pessimism, negativity takes no mental energy. It takes no faith to be negative or pessimistic, okay? We can have faith in ourselves. We can have faith in our business, our processes, our products. Like I said, our people, our teams, our marketing, our sales, everything. It's a culture of optimism. How do we teach it to other people? I love one-to-ones. I've learned from one-to-ones over the years. Done it for decades. It's an opportunity with a servant sort of an attitude to get to know the people that we work with. and find out how can we help them to grow, overcome the challenges they have with the positions they've got or the assignments that they've got. There's a wonderful process of growth and camaraderie that takes place there. In our team meetings, it's part of that. In our corporate culture, in our values, it's part of that. I mean, optimism, blatantly part of a lot of the cultures that we're going to talk about today. Okay. Next quality. So optimism the first, creativity here the second. Okay. Creativity for me, I mean, certainly there's a dictionary definition of it, but it can be kind of elusive. I'm thinking about a creativity that helps us understand how to put together our business, our products, and helps us to differentiate ourselves from the competition, but even further on how to solve problems. Okay, a couple of examples. June Morris and David Nielan. June Morris was a gal that back in the 70s, she had experienced travel as part of AAA and other companies. And as a housewife, when she got remarried, she wanted to develop her own business, do some more travel and whatnot. So her husband encouraged her to do that. She was a one woman, one desk, one phone travel agent. And she had learned about corporate travel. But the interesting thing about her creativity as she progressed was she helped develop for her business a form of invoicing for businesses so that their accounting departments at these businesses would have complete records of the invoice, the travel, everything that happened with the booking of the travel. And it was a form of software that was unique in the travel industry. So she set herself apart creatively from the get-go. The interesting thing is she expanded into recreational travel, did very, very well there too, booking airline travel to different parts of the world and probably cruises and things like that as well. You can find a little bit about her in the book Glorious Accidents, written by Michael Glauser. Love that book. And you can learn about a lot of different people there. So she had done that, but there's an interesting thing that happened. There was this young guy over at the University of Utah. He had actually graduated from there, but when he was there, he started selling Hawaiian timeshares. Eventually, that led to him not only selling timeshares, but selling bookings for airlines and things like that. So he became a travel agent himself. What was kind of funny when you read about it is he became kind of I'm going to say a pesky nuisance to the people at Morris Travel. Okay. Now, there was a time that one of the airlines that he was working with, the airline had some challenges and it presented problems for Dave. Well, Morris's group had heard about this, but rather than her applauding kind of the downfall or the challenge that Dave was having, she reached out to him creatively. And then they end up partnering up. From that came charter flights. There came the leasing of airplanes and things like that. And when you read some of the creative things that they started doing in travel, it was wonderful. I mean, Morris Travel developed into Morris Murdoch Travel, biggest travel agent in the state of Utah at the time. And then, they made their way and they started, Morris Air together. June Morris became the CEO and only female CEO and owner of an airline in the country. Dave Nielan helped her develop that, and eventually they sold the airline to Southwest Air, right? And she became part of the board of directors. David, was part of that for a while, and then he went on to develop JetBlue, Azul Air down in Brazil, which is actually where he was born, which is another interesting story. Azul Air employing some 14,000 people down there today, and then TAP Air over in Portugal. And then just before the pandemic, Breeze Air. So very, very creative people. Again, how do you develop that? Well, obviously we have to get it. We have to grow it. It's like a skill. It's an attitude. We're talking about creativity. Again, I believe in reading about it, in examples of other people, biographies. Don't dismiss LinkedIn. I love reading some of the stories of people that have had challenges there. Silicon Slopes is another great place where us and our employees can go to learn how other people are overcoming challenges, differentiating themselves in the industry, as well as dealing with challenges presented by whatever comes their way. And teaching it and creating that culture in our one-on-ones, our team meetings, and of course the corporate culture. Let me share with you an example in my background of how creativity came in with an example that came out of a one-to-one. I was responsible for some sales, customer service, and even programmers in different parts of the world, Europe, Asia, and the United States. Our best programmer had a challenge with something for a customer. He came to me and said, Jeff, I've hit the wall. I don't know what to do. I need help. Well, knowing that the team throughout the world that I was responsible for had some different education, different levels of skill, different ways of looking at things, got them all together in a room and used GoToMeeting. Of course, this is how I do a lot of the one-to-ones throughout the world on a regular basis. We got together in a team meeting and we met for 3 hours. He shared the details of the challenge and the problem. The interesting thing was there's something about a team meeting like that, a very creative thing that happens. Creativity springs out of it. Next thing you know, the wall's broken down. And that made us, a cool $350,000 with the customer in question. So it's a wonderful process to see. Thirdly, drive. Drive is, without a doubt, probably the strongest, well, I'm going too far there. Optimism, creativity, and drive. These are the three, heroes of qualities that I believe that we need to have. I'd like to choose Scott Waterson and Gary Stevenson as great examples of this. These are two guys that started a company that is now known as ICOM Fitness. But when they started the company back in the 70s, they were just students at the University of Utah State. I almost got that wrong. Boy, they would get mad at me if I did that. Utah State Universities. They were students there. Scott had served a mission over in Taiwan, Gary over in Japan. So they had that language skill. They had some knowledge. They wanted to use that to make some money, and they had the drive to do so. So they developed an importing business, and they had to assemble things from time to time in their garages and whatnot. But they were very successful at it. But that's not all. They completed their degrees while they were building their enterprises. They started out with wood stoves and different parts that had to be assembled. Eventually they got to trampolines and exercise equipment and whatnot. They had a lot of different challenges and adventures. Also in the book, Glorious Accidents. Great story there, and there's more that you can learn from these guys online in videos. But the thing about it is, the drive is amazing. Problems didn't stop them. Sales, these guys got out and sold their products, okay? Went out and saw people, talked to people, went to trade shows. They had an unbelievable drive to get it growing, and they hired people that had similar drives. They partnered with other people, okay? Again, we can ask ourselves the question, how do you get it? How do you grow it? Well, again, I believe in regular reading, biographies, exposing yourself to other successful people. That could be LinkedIn, that could be trade shows or seminars like Silicon Slopes and many others. There's things that happen online. I love exposing myself and learning about how other people are growing and succeeding in the world. Failures are part of it too. I love, like I said before, journaling is fantastic. It's not just about writing down what happened today or whatever. It's about thinking and reflecting, writing down thoughts that were had, challenges that were had, different ways that they can be overcome. If journaling is done right, I've experienced inspiration, ideas, creativity that have helped the companies that I've consulted with, that I've worked with, employees that I work with. I mean, you know, you learn about different things and challenges that people are having in one-to-ones in a corporate environment, okay? Teaching and building drive as far as teams and team meetings and the corporate culture. I love the type of company that, you know, 2022 is right around the corner here, okay? It's a little late to set up goals for 2022. A lot of companies started that back in July with, you know, executive team meetings and strategic planning and whatnot. Each department bringing forth their goals, things that they need to do to reach the goals that they're going to have for 2022. All right. And out of that, of course, comes things like, well, it can be called different things, but it was talked about earlier as well, postings of the goals in every cubicle and office so that everybody is on the same page. All right. It becomes a phenomenal corporate culture. All right. Now let's go into a little bit of a closing here. All of these people that I've talked about, Bill Marriott, Scott Waterson, Gary Stevenson, June Morris, Dave Nielan, what do they all have in common? Optimism, creativity, and drive. Acronym OCD. They were all OCD about their business. They all have these qualities, okay? And we can get them too. And you might think to yourself, hey, but that was Bill Marriott. These people were great. They became, you know, multi-millionaires and billionaires and things like that. Oh, hey, wait a minute. They started out with nothing too. How about you? You notice I come up with rhymes a lot. They started out with nothing. You've probably started out with nothing as well. It's okay. Just keep going. Cultivate these qualities. You can do it. Believe in yourself. Believe in your team. Okay? Believe in your process. Believe in your business, your product. You'll find a way with these qualities. So again, I close. Where do you want to be by 2023? You know, the A-Team Summit would love to hear from you over the course of the year and ultimately toward the end of the year on how you did with everything that the speakers shared with you, but most importantly, your success and where you get to. Have a great 2022.
Oh, it is. It is a rough day for when you have something like that happen. So.
Yep. I want to thank everyone that's spoken so far, Dan and Brad and Shanna and Jeff. So
Yes.
it's been a great conference so far, and I hear the next two speakers are awesome.
Are they?
Yeah,
I haven't heard them speak before, so let's find out.
That's what I hear.
All right. So I guess we're going to get going. We might as well so that we can end on time. And Jim and I have been doing a lot of conferences together and some trainings. And so if you don't know about our training programs, go to bpmedia.com and go to the seminars, and you'll see our free Tuesday trainings. Then, of course, the conferences are things that we've done. This is the third in the Business Success Conference Fall 2021 conference series, and we have one left. And that will be coming up on December 2nd. And we talked about that a few minutes ago. But I wanted to thank Jim for being part of this. I mean, it's great to have him here. It's also great to have Bobby on him and such. Mm-hmm. And so we really appreciate that. So we're going to get
say that in the new year, you'll see the three of us really ramping it up.
Yeah.
With both trainings. Certainly, you've got our podcast that comes out 3 times a week. There's a lot of media that we're pushing out. So right. I want to thank Boyd and Bobby for both being part of that. And it's exciting as we're planning the new year.
Yes. I'm going to actually bring Bobby on as well, even though he's the next presenter after that. But we were talking with him about the stakeholder thing too. So I hope Bobby doesn't mind. I'm just going to bring him up. and he'll be part of this discussion. So,
Yeah.
hey, Bobby, are you there?
I'm here.
Ah, good.
Oh, but you
Oh
can't
my-
see me.
The
No,
camera's
we
not
can't.
there.
We're seeing the wall. There.
Oh, that's
Well,
not it.
no. You got to get the right camera.
Oh, wait.
There we go.
There we
Okay.
go.
That's still not the right one.
Yeah, but at least we now see you.
Yeah, we can see you.
We see all
closer.
those
No.
things all over, you know.
Yeah, we got lots going on. Oh, you can see you there. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to fix this.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Well, you can work on it while we're talking as well. Okay.
Oh, very
Yeah.
You
good.
don't mind? Do you mind if we add you in for this one?
Absolutely not. You
I
know
didn't
me.
think so.
I've always got 2 cents to share.
It's usually worth 2 bits though, not just 2 cents.
That's right. Right.
See,
Right.
it's worth more than you thought. All right.
Love it.
So, who are key stakeholders? Now, I'm going to tell a story to start things off to let people know. Okay, so I used to run the community newspapers, and about 2006, I had a new business coach that I was working with, and so I had a sales coach and I had a business coach, and the business coach was mainly working with me as the publisher and owner of the newspapers. And as we were doing at one time, he says, you know, have you ever had a stakeholders meeting? I said, what is a stakeholders meeting? And he said, well, it's getting all the key people together. So you've got me and this other guy that's doing your sales training and things, and you've got there's a couple people others that are advisors to you, but then you also have key people in your newspaper that are really important. So you've got your editors, no, not so much the writers, but the editors. You've got the head person of departments. And so we had a person that was over our graphics. We had a person that was over customer service. We had a person that was over our accounting department. And so we had a lot of people. And so he says, let's put it together and let's tell them what's going on and have them share ideas of how we can improve things. And so we did that, and we took a whole day out of our work, and we got together, and there was, I think, 13 or 14 of us at that meeting. I did have all my salespeople there.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
How many employees did you have? And so you narrowed it down to maybe 15 that were.
So we had, when we started this, we had about 60 employees. And of the employees, there was 11 of them that were employees, and the rest were advisor people that, you know, yes, we employed them, but they weren't working in the company. They were just simply advising us. Okay. And so so we had 11 though, out of the 60. Now, by the time we got to 2008, we had 165 employees. And part of that growth came from these meetings, okay? And so we sat down and we discussed, here's where we are, here's what's happening in every area. And it was a great meeting. And then we started saying, what can we do to help build the newspapers even bigger? And what kind of help do us as the leaders in it need to do? Now we had, of course, I did have all my salespeople there. And the reason why was they, a lot of times were working with the cities on a daily basis almost. And so we wanted them there instead of just me, who was the sales manager as well. And this really brought about a lot of change, a lot of new ideas, things that helped us grow our business. When 2008 hit, that team helped us put together, instead of using the post office to deliver our newspapers, we decided to go to carriers. And we brought in a person that was going to be over that. And he, again, became a stakeholder. And a stakeholder we identified as somebody who is a permanent person there or an advisor, that it's going to affect their bottom line of what they make when they, yes, there's other people that had that, but not like what these people. These people were the ones who were the leaders, not just simply employees. And that was one of the things we were looking at. But our stakeholders really helped. And we changed from going, so let me tell you why we went to our own delivery system. The post office, in their infinite wisdom, sent out on October 1st a memo to everybody and said, we are not going to raise the rates of postage for this year's Christmas season and for the next year after. On the October 2nd, we received a letter saying that they were going to be raising all of us that were using the bulk rate by 50%.
Oh, brother.
And I'm going, what? You know, we were paying, and yes, we weren't paying very much, but we were sending out about, at that time, probably 260,000 newspapers. And they were going to raise it by about 10 cents a piece. I couldn't afford that. Well, we put together a delivery system, and we were able to deliver it for slightly less than what the post office was charging us originally.
You had runners, didn't you? Running.
Oh, we had a guy named Vitaly that Bobby knows very well.
Very well.
Vitaly, he was a runner. He did. He took newspaper. He didn't want to be a manager. He wanted to be one of the delivery people. He'd run from door to door to door to door, and he was always preparing for the next running event he was going to be in. He also wanted to make sure he stayed in shape. We had people who, it would be a mother and a daughter. We had whole families who would do it, and they'd go into an area and they'd deliver sometimes 3 and 4 routes that we had. And it worked out so well.
I remember those days. I remember picking it up off of my porch. Every month I would go, oh, cool. It's the Valley Journals. When I met Boyd, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're that guy. That's so cool.
So that's the kind of thing. We had problems that would come up, and our stakeholder meetings helped us overcome them, solve them, come up with the actual action items that we would need to take. You know, when Brad was talking about, the 20-year plan, or a 10-year plan, the 3-year plan, the 1-year plan, and then a quarterly plan, or quarterly rocks is what he called it. That's what we were doing as our stakeholders. But we would, now during the downturn in 2008 through 2010, we did it every 6 months. But before that, it was once a year. And it really, really worked. So stakeholders,
For
tell me more
clarity's,
about what you guys have seen.
for clarity's sake, I want to point out Boyd's talking about maybe a sales manager, maybe a route manager, maybe a head designer. When he first kind of threw this idea out, I was thinking, okay, who's a stakeholder? Well, it's your CPA, it's your attorney, it's maybe your business coach.
It's those people too.
Are all really high level people. He got the people that were responsible for running the show at the show or at the decision making meeting. So it was really forward thinking, I is what I want to say, to include those people. A lot of people just sit around the conference table with their VPs and make a couple of decisions and expect everybody to be on board. By getting the buy-in of these other people, boy, that's a winner right there.
That fits perfect with what we're going to talk about in my session.
I know it is.
It fits perfect.
Yes, well, we knew that, so that's why we put it just before yours.
Yeah, you guys are the smart ones. You're the smartest ones in the room. I just bow to your guys' knowledge.
We're not smart. We're just baiting you.
Just tenacious. That's what you are. You're
That's it. Okay, that's it.
That's the true secret to success. Don't quit. Just keep doing it. Even if it's wrong, just keep doing it.
Do it faster. Yeah.
Well, you know, by starting this stakeholders meeting, it accelerated our business. Now, I got to tell you, I had a 20-year plan in 2000 when I was putting it all together. Now, we bought the newspaper in 1998. For 2 years, we muddled along and we had one newspaper. And in 2000, I put together a 20-year plan. Well, once you start putting together a 20-year plan, you start putting together all those incremental steps in between. Mark talked about that, Brad talked about that. I keep calling him Mark, I don't know why. Brad talked about that. And it is so important to have those steps in between. Dan talked about it as well. We've had Shanna talk about it a little bit when she talked about the U. But let me tell you, we beat our 20-year plan in 7 years. But where were we to go? And that's when we started doing the stakeholders meetings. Now it was the whole group putting together the 20-year plan or the 10-year. We didn't go 20 years at that point. We were looking at, because at that point, we were looking at probably 5-year plans because we didn't know where we would go. We had 6 newspapers at the time. When we sold it in 2014, we had 14. So we still grew more than 50%, or more than 100%, I guess. And so, but the stakeholders was what caused that to happen, because they knew what they needed to do. They could go back to their groups and get them excited. It was all about, I think it was Dan that talked about, you know, a mission versus a vision statement. Mm-hmm. And it is so important to have both and understand what the difference is. You know, people can see what your vision is, but the mission is here and now. And it was great. And we got even some feedback from some of the employees here and there, but most of the time it was the stakeholders.
I think there's a key thing that you're talking about. To me, what I've always done with all of my companies is a transparency.
Yes.
And getting everybody to be involved. They're not just a piece of a puzzle. They are a part of the group, and they have say, they have buy-in.
Exactly.
You get so much more when somebody knows they're a part of something and that you want them to be a part of it, not just some worker bee that's sitting there doing their thing. Sometimes some of the greatest ideas, you know, Amazon Prime, that was not Jeff Bezos's idea. Some guy had the idea and everybody told Jeff, that's nuts. You can't do that. It'll put us out of business. There's no way. And Jeff goes, you know what? There's something here. But he listened to the person, and that is such a gold mine of opportunity when you treat your employees with that kind of respect and that kind of transparency.
I'm going to tell a story about General Motors real quick then, and it goes along with that. You might know this one. I think it was you, Bobby, I got it from, but I don't remember. It was somebody else. General Motors automated all of their plant, this one big plant. I mean, it was huge. Everything, all the machines are doing everything, and they're, you know, all the time. Well, one day, one of the custodians is walking by a window and he's looking out at all this sea of mechanical things. And he says, why do they have the lights on in there? They don't need lights to work. So he wrote a suggestion, and they were big on suggestion boxes all over the place. Well, he put a suggestion of that, put it into the suggestion box. Well, a week later, all the lights were off unless there were maintenance crews in there. The next month, he got a little bonus of $100,000 because they figured they were going to save over $1 million by his idea of turning off the lights when no one's there. Now, that's the thing. What's your culture in your business all about? Is it a stakeholder culture where you'll take the ideas of everyone, like Jeff Bezos did? Like a lot of people, I mean, Steve Jobs, he always said, I want to hire people who are smarter than me and give them the responsibility for doing the job that I know I can't handle, but they'll report to me so I know what's going on. Isn't that, now he pushed people, and there were some people who just didn't like working for Steve Jobs because he pushed them, but he saw
out
their
the door.
potential. Sorry, what?
He pushed them out the door.
Well, sometimes he did.
Sometimes.
Yeah, but you know, he pushed people to fulfill their potential.
And a lot of people loved him for that. We talk about, you know, the crassness, but if you've read the Pixar book he says Jobs started to really understand people and connect in a way that he never did in the beginning. So we don't hear about that, but
No.
Steve did a lot for a lot of people. He didn't just create Apple. He created people that just went on to do great things. So anyway.
Yeah, in fact, there's a book coming out that I heard about that is talking about, I started with Steve Jobs. And it's all these people who got their start from Steve Jobs and how he accelerated their growth of knowledge and of confidence so that they could run another business, so they could start something even bigger. And while they did leave him, they always credit him.
That's a great mentality to have in your business, that you're there and you're assisting your employees in becoming better people. I mean, everybody wants to work for somebody like that.
Yes. You know, Shanna talked about, you know, our most valuable assets is one, yourself, two, your employees, and then the customers, because it works all the way down. And if you don't have great employees that you're treating well, they're not going to treat your customers well.
You know, many years I've taught customer service courses, you know, Boyd, we've done some stuff together, and the key to customer service isn't how you treat the customer. The key to customer service is how you treat your employees. Because if you're crappy to your employees and they hate working for you, it doesn't matter what you tell them to do for the client. They're not going to give good customer. We've all been on that call with the guy that could care less that you're pissed off about your phone service. He's there taking a paycheck. But if that company had treated them with respect and love, I use the word love. If you would have loved your employees and actually treat them good and have them have love being there, that's how you get good customer service.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, when we do the customer service conference here in the spring, we're going to talk a lot about that.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting because, you know, regardless of their position or their kind of their stake in the company, overall, what we're talking about is getting them buy-in, getting them to understand, and that puts them in the game and literally gives them some ownership. I mean, not ownership, but it makes them want to perform. It makes them understand. It makes them clearly be better employees. And that's more than just being a stakeholder. It makes all of your employees better if, as Bobby said, you love them. So
Right.
treat them
What's
with
wrong with the
respect.
love word?
Yeah, treat them with
That's
some
right.
respect and love.
Well, what kind of things do you guys do to help generate that kind of employee that is going to stay with you long term? I mean, Vitaly, that used to work for me, now works for Bobby.
He's my right-hand man.
He's your right-hand man, and for good reason. I mean, he worked from being my delivery person. He didn't want to be in the management, but he then went on to be our in-house computer technician because he was really good with computers.
Oh,
And
he's
then-
now my network engineer over my whole company.
Yep. And
No,
and
I
that's the
think
kind of thing.
the secret there is to give them some responsibility and don't try and micromanage. We've kind of danced around that word.
So
But-
true.
Do not micromanage. Give them, I hate to say it this way, but give them enough rope, and and let them go figure it out. Don't try and tell them what to do, because they understand the process. Whatever process they're in control of, they understand it better than us as owners do.
If you do the right by hiring the right person, you should not have to micromanage. If you have to micromanage, you messed up and you did not hire the right person. That was the thing with Vitaly. He just took on responsibilities. He just made things happen, and he grew in my company and grew. I've just been, and he'll tell you, and I am humbled that, I know we keep using him as an example, but I'm humbled at when he tells me, Bobby, you know, I am so grateful that you're just a good person and that you saw, you know, stuff in me. And sorry to get, I know I'm getting, I get emotional at sad commercials, but it just, when you actually care about somebody, they know it. And they know when you're full of crap. When I care, and through the pandemic and stuff, me and Vitaly, we would have sit downs and talk about, man, this is so crazy. And, you know, we almost were each other's, psychologist or a therapist. And I do that with all my employees. I sit and talk to them. I'll sit, I mean, just how are you doing? And actually really caring. It's not rocket science.
Well, Shanna talked about that. And, you know, I used to, when I sold the newspapers, one of the things I did was I went to work for a couple of big companies, helping them try to retain employees in call centers. Now,
A hard one.
oh, that's a hard one. But you know what? I would teach these coaches, is what they called them. Some of them were not coaches. In fact, some of them were just managers, and they couldn't even lead. But I would take the ones who were leaders. I would be able to help them. And we taught them about how to figure out what each one of those employees, and they usually had up to 20 underneath them, how to get them so that they really gelled with everyone else. What was their goals? You know, Shanna talked about this a lot, about how you get people, when you get to know them, you do a one-to-one with them. Well, we taught these guys so that they would do a one-to-one with them at least a half an hour, sometimes up to an hour every single week. But you know what? The guys and girls who did this, and they were doing it. Now, this company I went into was having a 30% attrition rate. So turnover every month, 30%. They couldn't keep up with hiring people. They'd hire people and they'd be gone. You know, they'd be replacing just the people who left that month.
The cost of that is crazy.
And it was terrible. And they had a whole building that they were trying to, so the building was half full, and they couldn't continue to fill it to the full capacity because they kept losing people. And it was because of the coach.
Problem there. That to me,
the coach.
Culture problem.
Well, and the coach, you know, it went up the line too, because the manager of it, they simply said, you know, what Boyd teaches, that's great. If you want to take advantage of it, do so. The ones who did, we had 2 out of 19 people who I taught that took and did everything I told them to. In a year's time, they lost 1 person in each of those 2 teams.
Wow.
20 people in the teams. They were the only team that kept 20 people there. Do you know why those two people left? One of them got married and had to move to California because that's where her husband got a new job. The other one, he joined the Air Force and he went off to the Air Force boot camp. That's the people of those 2 groups.
There's a client, and I don't know if Boyd will figure this out, but we both share a common client, and he's got a saying, and he says, slow to hire, quick to fire. And
Yep.
That's that slow to hire is the finding the right person for the right job across the board.
It is.
And you do that, and you let them go and do their job and grow. Your company's gonna grow. Your company's gonna be in a way better shape.
Absolutely.
If you get the right person there.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the point.
The key is in the hiring.
Slow to hire.
You know, a lot of times what these guys were doing was when they were hiring somebody out that was working in the call center, and they just make them a manager is what they were doing.
Yeah.
And so they managed people. They didn't actually lead. They didn't connect and they called them coaches. Well, they had no idea what coaching really was, you know, so, but we're running out of time.
Talk about hiring just really quickly. I am the big on slow to hire. I interview probably no matter what the job is. I interview like 5 times. And when I say interview, I may sit or maybe I'll call them on the, you know, we'll have a first interview on the phone. Then we'll have a meeting. I will then take them to lunch. And then I will take them to like Top Golf or something. I want to make sure and get them in different environments and see if, because the companies that I deal with, customer service is number one. And that's my philosophy, and everything is. And if I don't know if that person, because I can teach technology and stuff like that to anybody, but I can't teach them how to be a decent person. I can't teach, I mean, you can teach skills, interpersonal skills, but I get to know them before I say, hey, let's hire. Then I have them go out with my other people and be a part of the job. And I say, this is still an interview. You're not hired. You're just, and sometimes I'll pay them. But anyway, that slow to hire thing has been, I have been bad at hiring in the past. I've been stupid and go, oh, this person needs a break. That is, by the way, the worst reason to hire somebody.
Desperation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On either side, you know, you need a body and they need a job.
Yeah.
Not a good
idea.
All right. Well, we're going to close off the stakeholders, and we're going to just turn it right into the Bobby show.
Oh, no.
And Bobby is going to talk about one that's it's something that he and I, when we were talking about this and we came up with this title, he said, ooh, that's perfect.
You came up with the title. I'm like,
Well,
that is it.
One is the loneliest number. is
Us
what he's
three
gonna
know
be
what
talking
that's about, but most of the kids watching probably don't.
Oh, I don't know. I hear it all the time on the radio still.
Really?
Yeah, I did. I heard it the other day from
What
Creedence Clearwater
station do you
Revival.
listen to? You must
Yeah.
listen to
No,
the oldies.
actually, it was hits of the hits of today and yesterday, or something like that. And so, I mean, I hear all the new stuff from Katy Perry and everything else there, but I also hear some of this. And One is the loneliest number is still being played there. So
And it's still true.
it
is lonely.
It really is. And there's one line in it that I always.
Years ago, I went to a concert with them.
I
Really?
was at one of their concerts up at the University of Utah
Yeah.
Event Center. And oh my gosh, they were a great concert.
Probably more than 30, probably 36 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, it was the late 70s that they last.
Anyway, we're dating ourselves. Okay, so turn it over to Bobby.
Let's go.
All right. Well, thanks for the title because it's perfect. Mine was Nobody Does Anything Significant Alone. Gosh, that's just not as good. So thank you. We're just going to jump right into this. I've got a few minutes here and we're going to have some fun. Well, I always have fun. That's just who I am. I like to have fun. But what we're going to talk about is nobody does anything significant alone. So right now, I want you to think about all the great, we talk about Steve Jobs and Jeff Bezos and all those people and even Bill Gates and all of them, most of them had, their partners. They had, Steve Jobs had Steve Wozniak and all of them had some kind of a partnership and nothing really great. Not one single person did something that created some billion-dollar company or some movement company that changed the world. You just can't do it alone. There's no way, no matter how many VAs you can get or any of that stuff, you just can't do it alone. And if you think you can, and if you're sitting there, well, I have a lifestyle business, I'm an Instagrammer and I'm taking pictures. Even those, the big Instagrammers or the big influencers that are a lifestyle business, they have teams, guys. They have big teams behind them. Some of them, you just can't take care of everything. So I know I'm harping on this, but the problem is we don't think, especially when with solo entrepreneurs that are like, well, it's just me and I'm just going to be able to do everything. The problem is, no matter how awesome you are, no matter who you are, no matter if you've got this business really down pat, this piece of the business. Now, if you've read any books like E-Myth and any of those books out there, you know, doing everything is a disaster. You no matter how great you think you are, you're still not going to be the best accountant. Unless you're in marketing, you're still not going to understand complete marketing. You're wasting your business by doing that. So please, the whole point of this that I'm telling you today is, if you really want to grow, if you're really serious about growing something, and I'm going to even go as far as multi-level marketing and stuff like that. And most people are like, well, that's a one-person thing. If you were serious and you made it into a business like it should be, or like they tell you it is, you should have a team. It shouldn't be you alone. And maybe your downliners, a team or whatever. And I don't want to go too far into that hole. I'm just telling you, one person can do this much, but two people can actually do a whole lot more than just one. And three people can do a bunch. It's not a one-to-one ratio. When you don't just double when you add another person. So I want to give you an example. So in my early days, in my 20s, I had started a few businesses. I started a company called Backroads Creations, and we were a log furniture manufacturing company. So I had originally, me and my wife had seen some log furniture, and I said, hey, I could build that. I bet I could build. I'm a smart person. So I went up in the mountains. I got a permit for firewood, went up in the mountains up in Logan and cut down some trees, some firewood trees, dead trees. And just for those of you that are out there, that you don't cut live trees. So I cut the trees. I spend like 2 months building this bed for me and my wife. And it was hard, and it was it was a lot of trial and error back then. This was many years ago. And I finished it, and we slept on that bed for I don't know how many years. But I was talking to a buddy, and I'm like, you know what? I could do this for a living. This would be the coolest thing to like sell these beds. And all of a sudden, log furniture kind of got really, really popular in the late 90s. It just was, for some reason, everybody was looking in magazines and everybody wanted a big log bed that had this stuff. So I'm like, I could do this. So that's what I did. I started building log furniture. I created chairs and swing sets and did all this stuff. And I started marketing. I started doing all of this stuff, and it started growing. I started selling in stores, and it was really awesome. I'm like, wow, this is a cool gig. And then I had a person come to me that was a very highly successful real estate person. And we had met through some different things. And he said, you know what, Bobby, this is a cool idea. He said, I could really take this and grow the crap out of it. I know how to do this marketing stuff. I know how to do all these things. And he started getting really excited about it. And we met, and he's telling me what he can do. And then he tells me, and I'm of course going to have ownership in the company. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Ownership in the company? No, this is my baby. I'm growing this thing. And I, and I'm going to say right now, ignorance, I completely blew him off, completely shut him down, said, you know what? I know what I'm doing. I'm doing my thing. I'm growing this thing. It's already growing. What do I need you for? And later on, that person knew both me and my wife, and he had told my wife, it's a shame that Bobby didn't see the value that I could have brought to this company. And I do now. I do see that now. I ended up growing it as much as I could. It was hard work, guys. It was doing everything was hard. I did get to a point where I had to start hiring some people to manufacture stuff and build things. And I was the hiring manager. I ran the company. I was doing all the marketing, all of the sales, and it was killing me. I ended up selling the company for peanuts. I sold it to another person and they took it over, but I lost an advantage there. I lost something that could have been $1 million company easily if I would have not been didn't think so much that I had it all figured out. And I was 20 something years old. I learned this valuable lesson of, gosh, I don't want to work that hard. I don't want to, I know that people helping is the key. So I learned a valuable lesson. I want you to really think about it. If you're a solo entrepreneur and you're doing everything yourself, I'm going to tell you here in just a second how not to do that, even if you don't have any money. Okay, because that might be the thing. Well, I'm growing this. Once I grow it to a certain level of revenue, then I can start hiring key players. That is one of the the growth piece where you start actually being in money is the hardest part of entrepreneurship. Getting to that level, and I tell people tell me all the time in entrepreneur groups and stuff, Bobby, I need to make money. I need to make money. I quit my job and I'm doing this thing full time. And I'm like, gosh, that wasn't smart. How do I make money next month? I have companies that I've had for 2 and 3 years before they get into revenue. Before we talk about Jeff Bezos a lot and Amazon. Yeah, it's a many billion-dollar company, but it was in the red until only a few years ago. It hadn't made money for 20 years. Guys, think about that. That's pretty crazy. So if you're coming at it from, oh, well, once I start making money, then I'll be able to hire people and do stuff and really grow. That's the wrong mindset. You use powerful people to grow what you have now. And there's a twofold here. And I'm going to tell you what you're going to get from this twofold. You're going to get some good people, but you're also going to find out if your company has legs, or if it's I don't want to say viable, because maybe not, but if it is attractive, if it makes sense, if it sounds like something that people want to use or have or buy or whatever. And I'm going to tell you how that works. So how do you get a team without having money? How do you get a team without having money? So all you have is an idea. Right now, let's say I have an idea for a company. It's $1 million company. And I'll tell you, I've met hundreds and hundreds of people with $1 million ideas that haven't done anything with it yet. And how much money do you think an investor will give most of those people for that $1 million? They know it's $1 million. Man, I know for a fact this is $1 million idea. I just need some money to build it. How many investors do you think will invest and give money to your cool idea, your $1 million idea? How many? Zero. Most investors, if you've ever watched Shark Tank, they're not going to give you money because you came up there and go, hey, this is a good idea. How many times have we seen? So how much revenue have you made? Or how many people are purchasing your thing or signing up for your deal? That's like the first question they ask, isn't it? And if they say, well, we're in the idea phase, most sharks or any investor knows anybody can have an idea. I need to know that somebody can build that idea, that they can move that idea, that it's a viable idea, that people want it. So if you're thinking, well, I just got to go get it. Again, I have so many people that come to me and go, Bobby, where do I go to an investor? I need an angel investor. And I'm like, well, cool. What's your business? Oh, well, I have this idea. It's $1 million idea. This is the coolest thing. Well, until you have at least an MVP, a minimum viable product, there's not many people that are going to give you money, except for grandma or your mom and your dad or your best friend. And guys, that's a tough row to hoe. And sometimes that you do need to use that. But what I'm going to tell you is, how do I get key players for my business? If I can't do it all myself, if I need some powerhouses, how can I do it all myself? You do have something. You have something of value. If your company, if your idea really is great and it really has legs and it's really powerful, you have that company. You have a piece of that company that you can give as value. Yeah, that's right. You have equity that you can give in that company. If you have an idea that you believe is $1 million idea, but you know you can't do it yourself, and you need to get some key players, the only way to get those key players without having money is to give them a piece of the action. That's how it's happened through time and time. I mean, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, they had pieces of job, and other people, they gave pieces of the company in the early days. We all heard the story of the guy that paid $2,800 to Steve and Steve to be a part of Apple, and then he got cold feet and he freaked out, and they paid his money back, and they say that would have been worth billions now, and that guy's talked about all the time as super sad that he did that. But my point is, you have something, a part of your company. Now, there's people out there, I know they're going to go, oh, but Bobby, this is my baby. Trust me, I've been there. I know what it's like to go, I don't want to give up my baby. I'm not going to give just somebody out there. For one, you're not. You're going to find key players. You're going to find powerhouses. And here's how we're going to do that. I'm going to tell you how to find powerhouses. But so, gosh, I get excited, people. And then I get lost and I don't know where I'm going. So I'm not telling you now. I know everybody's heard of partnerships and have heard horror stories. I've had partnerships that were horror stories, and I'm going to tell you about it here in just a minute. And even I still have partners today. I still do partnerships. I still connect with people, but here is the difference. And here is what I'm telling you to do. You do not give up control of your company. That's the problem. People think a partnership means I got to go split 50-50 with somebody. That is not how it works. That's not how the corporate world works. That's not how companies that grow their pieces and parts. There's percentages. Now, how many of you out there would whine about 1% owning 1% of Facebook? Would you be okay with owning 1%? I do just about any kind of work to own 1% of Facebook. We all would. So if your company, and here's where the key is, if your company is worth something because it has traction, or it has a wow factor, or it's a disruptor, or it's exciting and engaging, then you're gonna find the right people. Now, the situation where I really understood that you can't give up control, and this is where I swore I would never own a company again that I didn't have the controlling interest. 51%. You see it on, again, using Shark Tank, but you see it all the time. The person has to keep 51% if they want to control, because if you got 50 and 50, then there's a stalemate there. Nothing gets done. And if you have 49% and they have 51%, you don't control that company. You're just a worker bee at that point. So control is everything. I'll give you an example. I owned a gaming company. We had gaming shops all over the Salt Lake area. We had over 6 different gaming shops. We were going to be billionaires. We were going to VCs, and we were doing all kinds of stuff. And we had 4 partners. And it started out, we were all 25% ownership, right? And things happened. It got complicated. There's a bunch more people being brought in, and different people owned different things. And all of a sudden, I'm handed a ownership certificate that shows I own 2.5% of the company. So I went from 25% to 2.5%. And I don't even know how it happened or what I signed or what, because, there was a lot going on. When you're in the throes of passion and excitement, and I swore and that company ended up failing miserably. So it didn't matter that much, but 2.5% of Facebook still would have been awesome. So, but my point is, I never wanted to lose control again. So partnerships are awesome, but you have to control the company. If it's your vision, it's your baby. Now you have some value. If you bring in a developer and you can show that developer that, hey, I have something really powerful here and I want to give you 15% of the company. Now, here's another problem with that developer thing. If you have a developer idea and you're not a developer, I just need somebody to build it. This is a tricky one. See, that's what the Wasselvac twins or whatever did with Mark Zuckerberg for Facebook. They said, hey, we have this idea. He took it anyway. A developer could just build it themselves, right? But if you say, I need this thing built, but my expertise is in sales and marketing, and I have these different people to find revenue and money. If I can get a minimum viable product, I can build it out. See, you have to give some value too. Nobody wants to just build your company for you. That ain't going to work. And there is a lot of people out there that want to do that. They're like, oh, I'm just going to hire a bunch of people. They're going to build it all, especially if they're giving a part of their company away. Why do we need you? So you need to be a key player for sure. You have to be a key player in your business, or you won't be desirable. You won't be, because they know, oh, wow, I want to be a part of this company. This person absolutely knows what they're doing to create the business model, to create the business side. I'm just going to develop the tech, or I'm just going to develop this or that. So keep that in mind. This is a powerful tool to build an amazing team. You have 49% of your company to give out to get a powerhouse. Now, how do you get the best people? The key here to the best people is your company has to be cool. It has to be something that people want to be a part of. You'll know when you give the idea and somebody goes, oh, wow, you could do this, you could do that. That's an exciting thing. I do that all the time. We're entrepreneurs. When you're entrepreneurs, you have 14 business ideas by 12:30. I mean, you just do. But when I spit them out to everybody I see, and my wife is one of the best at honing through my crap. And she's so used to me throwing business models out at her, and she loves to just knock them to pieces. But when she goes, oh, that's interesting, I'm like, oh my gosh, wait a minute, I might be onto something here. And I go out and spread the word. So if you want key players and you want really powerful people on your team, you are going to need to, you have to have a really cool business model. You have to have something that's exciting, a disruptor, something where people can go, oh my gosh, this can change everything that's going on. The bigger the disruptor and the more exciting it is, the less equity you have to give up and the more powerful people that you will find. This is a key piece. And I'm going to just tell you a little bit of a story about Stampede Digital Systems is a marketing company that I've created with some other people. And I kind of want to tell you the story of how this came about. Stampede's really blowing up right now. We're doing a whole lot of stuff. We're having a whole lot of fun and we're making some money. So that's pretty cool. But we have a team of about 15 people now. It started with me having an idea. I needed a tool to do some stuff for my business. I wanted a bunch of online digital tools, and I looked all over. I was doing all of this different research, and I found a tool, and I was like, oh, cool. This tool I could use to do a bunch of digital stuff. I'm an entrepreneur. I've had all these run-ins with marketers, and I was like, man, you know what? I think I could do this marketing thing. Long story short, I had a couple other entrepreneur buddies that also had this, hey, marketing sucks. We always get screwed by marketing. We pay thousands of dollars. There's never an ROI. We can do this thing. Well, it ended up with 5 of us getting together and creating Stampede Digital Systems. And now I told you, I don't give up control anymore. So I have controlling interest. I'm the CEO of the company, and I have controlling interest of the company, because I told them up front, guys, I won't do this without controlling it, because I learned my lesson. I tell my story. So that's been 2 years now. I haven't made a whole lot of myself. We've made money and we're growing leaps and bounds, but I've taken $0 from that company as of yet, because I know the payoff down the road is going to be great. And that's what I've done with several companies. So my point is, you've got something of value. If you don't have money, and what this is going to do, you're going to find out if your company has legs. If you pitch over and over again to people to come in and be a part of your team and create something great, and everybody's like, wow, that's a really cool idea, but no, thank you. Oh, that sounds really neat, but now I need to be paid. If they need to be paid, it's not that great of an idea, guys. You need to pivot. You need to figure out how to make it desirable. Once you make it desirable to bring people into your team, you don't have to spend a ton of money to find out that your idea sucked. Okay. All right. I'm just about wrapping it up here. I'm on my soap. This has been my soapbox. I say this to so many people. Guys, you have something of value to create a powerful team. You do not have to be, it doesn't have to be money. So if we got any questions or anything like that, let me know. I know I'm
one thing.
Yeah.
And it is, you do also, when you're building that business, it doesn't always have to be a full-time thing. Start it as a side hustle and see where it goes from there. You know, you started your log cabin or log
furniture.
Yeah, log cabin furniture. Yeah.
I thought about log cabins. That would have been.
So your log furniture, you started and you didn't do it as your main thing. You learned how to do it by trial and error, building something for yourself. Yep. It was on the side. You worked elsewhere, you know, and that's the thing. Build it up, and you'll find people who are more interested in starting as a side business with you and helping to build that to the point where they then can, with you, move on.
That is so true. Nobody wants to jump a comfortable ship. So their job is a comfortable job. Nobody's going to go to your cool thing, even if it's the most exciting thing on the planet, and quit their day job just to take a chance on you. That's just not a thing. So thanks for bringing that up, because that is a very important piece that I didn't really hit on, is that don't quit your day job, guys. This isn't about jumping and going full force and, you know, read books and say, yeah, I had to go full force to make this happen. That's just stupidity. And only a very few people actually make it doing that.
Yep. So anyway, that's the thing. Okay. So I'm going to give away another trip right now. And I just pulled the people's names out of a hat, and it's Ben Shoup. So, so Ben, put your email into our, into the chat, and I will get that taken care of. So congratulations. And you're going to have fun down in Las Vegas with that. So
there you go.
All right. What else we have? We've got coming up next, we have Chris Barney. Now, I am so excited that Chris is here.
She's a rock star.
She is a rock star. Bobby has known her for a lot of years. I've known her for a lot of years. She works with a lot of things, but, you know, one of the things, you know, oh, let's see what we got here. Somebody's saying, Ben. Oh, yep. Yeah, and you can still get the potential trip to Mexico. You're right. All right. So, but Chris has been it's been quite a few years now, probably 7 or 8, that she moved from doing some training and other things, but she moved to being a full-time public trainer and speaker. And she is a keynote speaker. And of course, this last year has been really tough on keynote speakers and trainers, and she has survived it. She's also the head of the local chapter of the Public Speakers Association, which, you know, she's the Utah chapter lead, and you know,
National Speakers Association.
National Speakers Association.
Yeah.
Sorry. And when I was thinking about who we could have on here, there was actually one other person we had on here that I'm sorry to say his father passed away this week. And so he was not able to speak. And so that's where Jim and I came in at 11 o'clock. And so, but so if any of you know Michael Glassford, his father passed away last weekend. And so they're dealing with that. And it's something.
Mike is a great guy.
Michael is. And, you know, a lot of us know him, especially here in Utah. He's well known, he's well liked. And so anyway, but
Your life, make it a good one.
Yes, that's right. It's your story. Yeah.
It's your story. Yeah. Make it a good one.
Yes.
Let's move on with Chris, because
Yes.
of all the topics, she's the only one that I didn't know exactly what she was going to say. What is the ugly truth all about?
She's exciting. Chris is always exciting. This is going to be fun.
So she's going to be teaching the ugly truth. Leadership is an inside job. Now we started with leadership. We've had leadership here and there. We've had the advisory type things that we've talked about. Chris is going to be our keynote here. And so Chris, I'm going to bring you up right now so that we can have you speak. That'd be a good thing to do, wouldn't it? So Bobby, I'm going to send you back for a bit. So,
All right. See you guys.
Thank you.
Hey, Chris.
Got to get to the right place where I can do that.
Right.
There we go. Hey, Chris, are you there? There you
I
are.
am here.
Awesome.
You
So,
got me.
Chris, take it away.
Yes.
That's awesome. We got to love some Bobby James, right?
Yes.
That is incredible. I am excited to be here. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes, we are.
Okay. I'm not hearing back from anything. I want to make sure
Sorry,
that we are where we need to be and
My
that we're
mute
not
was
having
on.
any
Sorry.
hiccups on this. So my first question for you is, are you the leader you would follow? And I ask that, I want you to really ponder that question, because I mean, you might feel like you're not the leader, or you know that leadership isn't your thing. What I can tell you is I believe that we are all leaders. We are leaders as parents, as neighbors, as friends. We're leaders in our community. We're leaders in our team at work. We're leaders if we're in the, you know, the entrepreneurship and we are bringing all those other people in. We are leaders in everything we do. And I believe that so much that I wrote the book on it. And I laugh when I say that because there's so many leadership books out there. But I believe that leadership from the inside out, are you the leader you would follow? And I want to know what that looks like for you. I want you to really ponder that, because we need to know if we really are that leader. Are there things in your character or your values or even procrastination? Like, are there things that you're like, yeah, I don't know if I'm the leader that I would follow? Because that tells you exactly where you get to begin to work. And it allows you to know that. Because just like they said, the ugly truth is that leadership is an inside job. Nobody can change you. I could influence you. Boyd can influence you. We might even give you some momentum to get going, but we cannot change you. We cannot force you to be a leader. It's got to come from within. We have to be able to do that for ourselves and to recognize how we need to take our next steps and what we need to do about it. Go with me to 1995. I had 4 kids. The oldest was 9, and he was diagnosed with a brain tumor. Now, Boyd knows this story really well. He actually, when he had his newspaper company, shared my son's story in the South Valley Journal. And we went through a horrific year. We spent 180 days in the hospital, that we slept overnight. And at the end of that 11 months of doing surgery, you know, chemo, radiation, all the things that we got to do, we owed $80,000 out of our own pocket. Now, we had insurance, but that wasn't going to cover any of that. This was above and beyond the stop loss. We owned $80,000. And we got partway into that year. So we were a couple months in, we'd had surgery, we'd been doing radiation, and we were starting into chemo. And I could see that I was not being the leader as a parent that my son needed. I was scared. I was tired. I wasn't sleeping. I didn't know if he would live or die. And I had all these kids. I was stressed out. And as we were driving to the hospital, I decided that, you know what? I got to do something different. I have got to be the leader as a parent and the leader I would follow. So I told my son, and of course he's pushing 10 years old, right? And they start to know it all as they're about 10, right? And so I said, we're going to go to the gift shop. We're going to get a Mylar balloon, and we're going to walk through the hospital and visit the other kids. And we're going to find the person that that balloon belongs to. And he's, you know, his word then was lame. And he thought this was going to be really dumb. But we got there, we got in the store, and he got to pick the balloon. And he thought he would show me. So he picks a pink congratulations balloon. Pink. That, I guess, meant we're going to see the girls, but congratulations. What I can tell you is the person in the gift shop told us they sell a congratulations balloon less than 5 times a year at Primary Children's Hospital. 5 times a year. So I said, this is going to be a challenge. We immediately went room to room and started visiting the kids, and especially the kids that had cancer, that were on that same floor as us all the time, that were there often. And we found her. She was 10 years old. She was having a party. There was about 30 people in her room because she was on her very last chemotherapy treatment. And she was done. She no longer had signs of cancer, and this was awesome. So the congratulations balloon was an incredible way to give that to her. But that's not what we learned that day. We also visited a little boy that would never leave the hospital alive, would never go outdoors, would never get to enjoy all the things kids get to enjoy, would never get to have a long life. We also visited a little girl that was going to be in a wheelchair the rest of her life. She would never walk again. But the one that really touched our hearts was a little 7-year-old boy. He had a disease that he was in the hospital for 3 weeks a month. He was from out of state, and his parents could only afford time off work and the money to get there to fly in for one 4-day weekend in the middle. Imagine, he's 7. There are so many times that we were able to go to that hospital after that and visit with him. In fact, almost on a daily basis, we saw this little boy. And it changed everything we were doing, because at that point, I was being the leader that my son could follow. I was being the leader I could follow. Now, a lot of us really don't understand that leadership really does happen all the time. People are watching you constantly. And so I ask you, what's your Mylar balloon? This was a different kind of service for us. We were always about service as a family, and servant leadership was amazing things that we love to do. But this turned the table so that it was affecting how we were treated by the doctors, whether or not I got a bed that folded down or a rocking chair, right? There was a huge difference in the quality that we received just because we were being a leader. So my question for you is, if not you, then who? If not you to change how you're doing your leadership and what you're doing about it, how you're coming up with ideas to be better and to create change. I don't know about you, but they alluded to it. But what happened to your business 18, 20 months ago when we were hit with a worldwide pandemic? Because at that point, majority of my business, well, I say majority, I was speaking, keynote speaking, training, and I'm an author and coaching, but 90% of my business was in front of people on stages or in trainings all day. And within 12 hours, I'd flown in to do a full day training in real estate. And I was speaking to the whole state of Montana. And by the time I left Salt Lake City and landed in Montana, the TV screens are talking about Salt Lake City is shutting down. We are not having events. Absolute shutdown. It was just incredible to watch that. I'm now in Montana, and everything was about what was happening in Utah. Montana did not even have one case of COVID yet. I did do my trainings. I had 3 different speaking things in 2 days, and I did do my trainings and I flew back home. But by the time I had flown home, in that 24 to 48 hours, I lost over 6 figures in cancellations. I had to give back deposits. I had to give money back to people for them to cancel. It was this just total upheaval. Just as he said, I was stepping in as president of National Speakers Association, and our local chapter is the Mountain West, but it's 4 states. It is not just Utah, it is 4 states. I had 200 full-time speakers immediately out of work. And by the time you hand back money, we're talking thousands of dollars that you're returning, you have, like, what are you going to buy food for the kids with, right? I had a tremendous responsibility. And the reason that I tell you that story is because, you know, rather than lay on the floor and bleeding and my business is upside down and backwards, right? Rather than doing that, I chose to do it different. I said, I have to do this different. What are you doing different because we had a pandemic? How are you doing life different? I mean, as the leader of NSA, I had to be able to do a 3-camera shoot. I had to buy a switcher, an ATEM. I had to learn the technology to run virtual presentations from home. I have an office where I could be standing up keynoting. I could be, well, you can see a whiteboard over one shoulder. I got a camera that goes straight to the whiteboard. I had to create things that I never imagined I'd have to be able to do. And yet it was a time when, you know, to create change, it takes courage. And I had to have that courage to create the change I want. Because so much of the time, there's 100 different definitions of leadership and how we're showing up. And I had to look at that and see where I fit on that scale. Because even when we are a good leader, there is so many different areas that we get to focus on, and all of them point in because we have to do it from the inside out. We have to be able to present ourselves in the best way possible. And we have to be able to always know that we need to be that leader that we would follow. During this time that I've been down with COVID, I mean, I did not have a lot of spare time being president of a huge association, but I was able to put together a program. I went back and looked at the last 8 years of being a professional speaker, and I took the topics that I'm hired the most for and that had the biggest, you know, the ratio of success, and put it all together in what I call the peer process. In our company, we do leadership, communication, and individual development. And so as I pulled this together, I used the acronym of PEER. So that is for productive, intentional, effective resilience. And I'm going to leave this slide up. I was going to take it down and have interaction and have input from the whole group. But as a webinar, that's not really going to be possible, especially on a short little span of time. But I want you to look at these pillars. In this picture that you can see at the top, it is the Balboa Pier. And I love the Balboa Pier because when I actually had this moment of a download of this company, you know, as Bobby talked about, he's got companies coming into his mind all the time, right? I'm an entrepreneur by heart, right? And there was this time that I had a napkin, and I actually drew I wrote the peer, I wrote the 4 words that that acronym would stand for, and I aligned those 4 pillars, because when you think of a peer, they're really strong, they're sturdy, they're built to withstand storms, right? And so we want our leadership to have that peer mentality. You can see in this peer that I have the cross beams that are leadership and communication, because I feel like that everything, when we talk business, everything comes back to leadership and communication and how we're making that work. And if there were anything to make it stronger, you can look at that top beam of trust. I feel that that's how we are going to make a structure that is sound as a business. When you're talking, putting your A team together, and then what do you go do from there? There's ways to have trainings, and that's where we've worked really hard in this peer process. But let's talk about those 4 things, because as a speaker, I had to focus on what is the outcome? What do they want to accomplish by bringing me in to speak? And there were 4 things they wanted. In their company, they wanted their company to be more productive. They wanted to have their employees more intentional about what they're doing, where their goals are, making deadlines, more effective. Across the board, they wanted their company to be more effective, whether that's in their product, in their services, in their customer service. They wanted to be more effective, and they all want to be resilient, because they wanted to be able to create change. They wanted to withstand the storms. I mean, COVID's a perfect example. We're seeing a lot of business folding, but we also saw a lot of businesses that did really well during that time. I want to talk about these 4 areas for a minute, because individually, these 4 areas will help you. And when we talk about these 4 areas, all 4 of them will bring you more profits. Ultimately, anytime someone wants to pay for a speaker or bring in trainers or have a training for their company, they want to make more money. And I think all of us want to get into business to make money. We really don't want to get into business to have it be a hobby that we do not make money from. And I liked what Bobby said, I haven't really taken a paycheck. It's 2 years in, and I haven't really taken a paycheck. Yes, there are times that we have to have that dedication to the business to make it become big, and that down the road we can see big profits coming. But we also need to be able to see that we have the structure in place to have the longevity and to be scalable. Me as a speaker was not scalable. I can only go speak so many times. When I'm having to fly out, be there a day extra, get back, I mean, there's only so much you can do. When I flew into Montana, I had gone ahead and booked a training the night before. I had 2 4-hour trainings for the real estate realtors in Montana. And then the next day I had a 3-hour training before I flew out. So I booked it that way, but normally that becomes difficult. And so there's a lot of travel time. There's a lot of things that happen. And being a keynote speaker or doing a training, it came down to only me and my husband, like when he could go with me. So I needed something that was scalable and that I could have other trainers and other coaches. So I want you to think, when you're in business, how can you scale it? How can you create it to not just be you? Because that's, one is a lonely number. When Bobby talked about that, it is a lonely number, and you can work yourself to death if you're not careful. So you have to really dive in and look at what you can do differently. But let's talk about these 4 areas. Productive. So when you have your team across the board, there were some things that showed up. And I'm just going to tell you a few of them. I'm actually going to give you a gift that you can get a guide that is the peer process guide, and it will give you, it's about a 9-page thing that will take you through the questions and help you to actually improve in these 4 areas really quickly. So when we talk about being more productive, we want to take procrastination out. We want to remove distractions. That's we had a speaker talking about multitasking, and it was our second speaker, and I can't remember his name. Yes, I can. So I'll cheat. I'll look at my book. Brad.
Yep.
We can't multitask, and we can't, that we're slower. So we have to be able to remove those distractions. We have to know how to be more accountable, more responsible. And I want you to think about this. So many people get caught up in the motion versus action. So when we talk about motion, that's making the list of calls that you need to make. That's making that to-do list. The motion is doing the time blocking. The action is actually doing the things in the time block. The action is actually making that phone call. So when we can move from motion to action, we'll be far more productive. One of the other things that really affects how productive we are is fear. And we're going to talk at the end a little bit more about fear, but fear shows up differently for each person. Fear can show up as like lack of education. Maybe you don't understand the product. Maybe you don't understand technology. Maybe you don't have all of the knowledge that you need in the leadership area. You feel a little bit inadequate on how to move to the next level. And so fear can show up differently. We need to identify how that fear shows up, and we've got to be able to overcome that fear and find out how we can get past it. Let's go to intentional. One of the things with intentional that I love to be able to do is to identify faulty beliefs. We all grew up differently, and we all have a different belief system. And when we have a belief that is not actually true, we avoid things, we do things our own way because that's what we've always known. When we can identify all these beliefs and we can change it, we can have more success. When we can own our own power, we as entrepreneurs hand our power over a lot. And we don't even know we're doing it. But even as big business, we hand our power over and we don't stand in our confidence and hold that. And so I want you to think about, where am I stepping back, pulling back, whether it's from fear or not being intentional on taking that to the next level. This can include how we prioritize, how we do time management, how we step up to the next level. And sometimes it can be really difficult to take that honest look inside, but I encourage you to dive deeper into what's going on for you. How is your results showing up? Ineffective, I want you to think about, there's foundational factors on being more effective and having more teamwork. Our teams are going to only be as successful as the weakest link. So when we can have a training that trains everyone together with the same values, the same characteristics, and encourages everyone to work together, then we have much more success. When we are more effective, think about this. Our big businesses, they want our employee engagement. They want employee retention. They want us to have a better culture, a better community, right? And so a lot of that is in how effective we're being. One of the things that I've taught for years is finding the gifts in your garbage. All of us have challenges. And if you didn't have challenges prior to our pandemic, now you do. So we all have challenges. And being able to find that gift in the challenge and being able to work through that and find the way through the challenge faster can make us much more effective. Again, our key is to evaluate. We also had Dan share that you evaluate your teams, you evaluate the projects. You have to have those kind of parameters in place to be able to be more successful. And our last one is resilience. And I like to refer to resilience as remarkable resilience because I feel like that everyone has to be resilient. The pandemic is a perfect example. If we're still alive, then we were pretty resilient to get through this last year and a half, especially for industries like the speaking world that shut down. Like, you had to be pretty resilient to go almost 2 years without a consistent income. And that's in many industries. But think about even in our fast food, there are steakhouses now, and there's one in Spanish Fork that I drive by quite often. We have purchased property up in the mountains, and so we're down south a lot. And there is a steak restaurant that they have a to-go line where you average being in the line for 20 to 40 minutes to get your dinner, but they're picking up steak dinners and taking them home. This is a restaurant industry that never before had a to-go window. Like we had to have resilience in our restaurant industries to be able to have curbside service. Like, just look at all the things they did to still stay in business. We have to be able to do that. And we want to have those qualities as well as we have to have a strong culture as a business. We have to have that vision. We've talked about that today, and know the difference between vision and mission. And we have to build trust. Now, I tell you these things with these 4 areas because you can immediately change how you're doing things and your leadership by going through this. And so I want to be able to give you this guide that I have, because as we look at this from a perspective point, if you don't manage your challenges will manage you. When I was at the hospital with my son, I wasn't sleeping. I was in a rocking chair, a hard wooden rocking chair with no lay down bed. And as long as I allowed that challenge to manage me, I was tired, I was stressed out, I was overwhelmed. I was worried that my child wouldn't live. When I decided to take ownership and manage the challenge, we then looked forward to going to the hospital because we could go room to room and visit kids. And we were many times able to find that we weren't in as bad a situation. This little 7-year-old boy, I couldn't imagine having my son at 9 years old be in the hospital nearly every day for 11 months and not have someone with him. Couldn't imagine it. So it was easy to take our focus off of ourselves and put it on somewhere else where it was more valuable, because then we saw the vision. Then we could make the changes we needed to make. Then we could be more powerful. So you can get the peer process. I've got another little piece we're going to do really quickly here, but you can go to my website, allthingspossible.biz. And if that's too hard to remember, you can get this from chrisbarney.com. Get your peer guide. The peer process guide will take you through the 4 areas. It will also ask you questions and give you insights that you can immediately create change. But I told you we were going to talk about fear. What does fear look like for you? Because it looks like different things for every single person. What I can tell you is fear can stop you or propel you. The choice is yours. When I ask people a lot when I'm in person, but when I can actually get your reaction, I would ask you how many of you have ever skydived? Because there's only going to be a random few that will raise their hand. And I would ask you, why would you jump out of a perfectly good working plane? But then I would tell you that a couple of years ago, I did jump out of a plane. And I want you to think about this. You have that moment of truth. I'm tandem jumping. So lucky me, I got this 6'4" muscular hot man to be tandemly tied to. And my husband was also tied to a gentleman, and they went right before us. So think about it. We slide into position. You can see in this slide, I am hanging out. I am flapping in the breeze. We are 12,000 feet in the air. I'm 2.5 miles from the ground. We are going way fast. We're in a plane, right? But think about when you've been in that fear. You've got that barrier right here in front of you. It has stopped you. And you just have to push past. Once you push past that, you propel past and beyond what's been holding you back. Because your success begins when your fear ends. When I pushed past and we went out that door, it was exhilarating. I was dropping over 100 miles an hour for over 1 full minute. And it was incredible. Success looks fantastic even if you look like a Shar-Pei dog, right? When your chops are flapping, right? You will create change when you make the decision and take action. So make the decision to grab the peer guide, go through it, see how the peer process and that can help you. In our company, we do retreats, we do C-suite teams. I do a whole company, and we do the training, get everybody on the same page and have great success with this. And I know from the hundreds of people that I have put through individually, how much this can change your life. So I want to leave you with this last thing. It's the little things that you do on a consistent basis that will ultimately change your life. Thank you, Boyd, James, and Bobby. Thank you for having me on this. It's been a great time. I've been here the whole 4 hours, and it's been a fantastic conference. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Chris. That's awesome.
You are so amazing. You know how much I love you, Chris. You're a rock star. I remember the first time I ever saw you, you said, "Hey, do you push your sleep alarm and go back to sleep?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I do that." And she's like, "Well, that's stupid. You shouldn't do that."
That was integrity.
I have remembered
Integrity
it
with yourself.
forever. I don't remember. That was quite a few years ago, and
Yes.
I've never forgotten. I do not click my freaking sleep alarm anymore.
That's awesome. Well,
Well,
thank you.
Well, thank you, Chris. You did a great job, and I love the peer program that you talked about.
Ah,
So yes,
so cool. I
Yes.
keep thinking of We Walk on Trust. I love that. I wouldn't go on that pier if I didn't have this trust thing to walk on. I just loved that example. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
very good.
It's been an incredible journey. You know, when you work for over a year, building out a program that's already your stuff you've already been using, and you go back to, you know, what's been successful and what's made the biggest difference for others that I've been sharing with them. And it's been fantastic to get to this point where we are out the gates training all the time and creating what the vision has been. And it's a great thing.
Good.
Brilliance.
Well,
Love it.
thank you. You are an inspiration. So
Mhm.
thank you so much.
100%.
Thanks. Great
Well,
to be here.
We're closing up the conference now, and we appreciate it. I'll move you back, Chris, real quick to being an attendee.
That would
Yep.
be great.
I'm going to tell Chris a quick story.
Oh
have a
yeah.
I have a couple of skydives, just a little over 4,000, and I'm a tandem instructor.
That's awesome.
And whenever we get to the door of the plane, like you were, they always scream back at me, "No, no!" And to me, it sounds like "go." So we're leaving once you're hooked up. So
That's awesome. I was not screaming one way or another. I was just stopping in the brakes.
That would be me. I changed my mind. No.
it sounds like go. Sounds like go.
It was incredible.
What's
So,
really fun is when they start saying, "I don't want to go," and they're already out of the plane.
yeah. Well, you know, everybody's dropped a little bit of wisdom with us today. And
Yes.
Chris's little thing that I wrote down, I put in my notes, is that we're talking about A teams, putting together an A team today. And she made something that, or said something that was really poignant. That is, your A team is really only as strong as your weakest link. So, you know, take that to heart, and everybody think about that. Who, you know, I'm not saying look for the weak link, but, you know, is there somebody that's not performing or doing their job, or you can help them do their job better?
It's true.
Great.
Thank you. All right.
Wow, this has
Well,
been awesome, guys.
It
Thank you
has.
so much once again for a super awesome conference with some really amazing speakers, people with some stuff. Hopefully we can pay attention and do some things and be more successful.
Right on.
True. And as I mentioned before, we do have a conference coming up on December 2nd. It is the Success for 2022 conference. And so tell your friends, tell others that they need to be there. It's free. It is from 1:30 to 5:30. So it is 4 hours again. But we're going to have Dano Ybarra. He's going to be, and he's an international speaker. you know, like Chris is, and Bobby is, and some others that we've had on here. And he's going to be talking about, are you ready to succeed in 2022? And then we've got Bobby is going to be back to, speaking there. He's going to be talking about your ultimate 6-month goal. Yeah.
This is
So
going to be a great conference.
It is.
Get
It
ready
really
for
is.
2022. 2020 was crazy. 2021 wasn't that much better, truthfully.
Mhm.
I really have high hopes for 2022.
Yes. Then we got Dan Mirgon is going to be back. He's going to be talking about creating a strategy for marketing, a stronger strategy for marketing going forward. And it's all about strategy, not just tactics. And so that's the key thing he's going to be talking about. Scott Johnson's going to be here. He's going to be talking about new ways to make money and get more business from what you're already doing. Okay. And then I'm going to be teaching the 7 habits of highly effective people. Yes, the Stephen Covey program. I'm not an authorized person, but Cynthia Covey told me, yeah, I ought to do it. So I'm going to. So
That's kind of authorized. Yeah.
so, but you know, the key is we want to be able to bring you value here. And I hope this has brought you value today. I know I have taken away lots of golden nuggets here, and some of them are more than just nuggets. I think I just found, you know, with each of these speakers, I think I took boulders. So it's time for us to take and put them into action. And that's the key. Put them into action so that your business will have more business and you'll be able to survive this next year. Because, you know, it's still going to be tough because COVID is coming up again. But, you know,
And we're entrepreneurs, crazy entrepreneurs with new crazy ideas.
We do. And, you know, and I appreciate everybody being here today. Thank you to those people who have taught here. I really appreciate them. And so thank you. And we'll see you on December 2nd.
Yep. Remember that date, December 2nd. You can kick the new year off in style with success.
And if you need something in between, go to the Entrepreneur Factory podcast, and it's 3 times a week. It gives you a fix on how to get things going. Now, the Mexico trip, I'm going to be giving it away, but I have to. So what I have to do is I have to end the conference so that my software will tell me who has been here the entire time. I kind of know who it is, but there's a few more people than I figured there would, and I'm glad to see that. So I'm going to be awarding that, and I will send them a message here in probably about 20 minutes. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Boyd and Bobby.
Thank you.
Thank
You guys,
you.
once again, congratulations on an amazing conference.
Well, thank you.